What's up guys, this is your favorite fanfic YouTuber, the Fanfic Majesty, and welcome to another amazing video. You can follow me on Patreon for exclusive stories. 2PQ. Chapter 26 Knights of the Star Cross please collect. Advertisement. This is. After clicking on the small icon, Yong Fong was shocked. They were all members of the Knights of the Star Cross. The Knights of the Star Cross were a personal bodyguard formed by Yhwach himself. It consists of a total of 24 letters, but the letters they represent are repeated. For example, James and Masco du Muscalan both represent S, but one is called Superstar, and the other is its solidarity. And they are not the only special people, there are also the two brothers who were beheaded by Old Man Sean. In short, the name of the Star Cross Knights only has 26 letters of the holy text, but the number of people is more than just that. After reading it again, Yong Fong even discovered this guy Ishida Yuryu. In the entire Star Cross Knights, except for Yhwach, who represents the omniscience and omnipotence. Only Ishida Ryu inherited another A, which was completely reversed and completely transferred the negative factors of his own bad condition to the opponent. In some ways, it is a bit similar to the bear's meatball fruit ability, which transfers his own negative status. Below the dozens of icons are many small black shadows. These black shadows represent the soldiers of the Invisible Empire. When they invaded Soul Society, in addition to the members of the Star Cross Regiment, they were these black shadow soldiers. Able to travel freely among the shadows, each one is not weak in strength. It turns out to be a summoning rule. Does this want me to create an invisible empire in the pirate world? After reading the description at the bottom, Yong Fong couldn't help but twitch the corner of his mouth a few times. After he got the devil fruit and absorbed it, he gained mysterious energy. In addition to making him stronger and the upper limit of 1000, these energies are the summons here. Every member of the Star Cross group needs devil fruit as a medium to summon. Can everyone be summoned except the first Ishida Rain Dragon and the second Yugelin? It's just that the summons are random and the devil fruit required after each summon is increased by 1, which means that in the later stage, every summon does one person need a dozen or 20 devil fruits. At this moment, Yong Fong was extremely speechless, but after thinking about it carefully, he still felt that it was enough. Start random summons. Yong Fong didn't think much about this. After all, as long as he had this function, he would make money, so he should relax. After all, with more and more people, devil fruit would be there. Buzz. Advertisement. After turning on the random summons, dozens of surrendered avatars, except for Ishida Ryu and Yugelin's avatars, began to become confused. After that, the avatars slowly stopped, and the character who stopped in third place was this time. Summoned character. Lii Barrow, Your Majesty, it is a great honor to serve you. Suddenly, there was a person in front of Yong Fong. This person was Lii Barrow. The letter represented by the letter was. In the 1000-year Blood War chapter, he was brought into the Spirit King Palace by Yhwach, and was killed by Nigaya King Etsuchi. His strength was much higher than that of an average captain, but he was still killed. Later, Yhwach used the Holy Spirit to take back the power of those who were not brought up below, and bless the 4 people with power, so that Lii Barrow directly became a god-tier level. With just a few kills, he killed everyone in Team 0 except for the monk. His strength suddenly increased to a terrifying level. After that, he was knocked down from the Spirit King Palace by the 8-mirror sword, and then killed by the cheating Kira. It has to be said that it is very tragic. Even Kyoraku Shunsui's Benkai couldn't do anything to him, and he died from cheating in the end. The Millennium Blood War chapter is actually about who cheats hard enough and is strong enough. If you don't cheat, you will die. It's very simple. As this state the first state, that is, the state that was cut off by Nigaya Wang Yu's sword. But it's enough. After taking a look at Lii Barrow's status, Yong Fong was not too greedy. Before Lii Barrow evolved, he was much stronger than the average captain level. Although it is impossible to compare in this world, Yong Fong knows that this guy's strength can probably reach the admiral level. The inexplicable addition of an admiral level combat power can be said to be like a dream. Your Majesty, are you okay? It was naturally strange to see His Majesty not saying a word to Lii Barrow. I'm sorry Barrow, I just didn't react for a while. I believe you have seen that my strength has become weaker and I must start practicing again. So Barrow, my safety will be left to you from now on. Quote. Yong Fong said with a pretentious look, since people call him Your Majesty and he has obtained the inheritance of Yhwach, he naturally takes the place of Yhwach. And the people summoned from the system are completely loyal to themselves according to the system's instructions. Don't worry, Your Majesty. The origin of our Knights of the Star Cross is to remove all obstacles for Your Majesty. It is our honor to protect His Majesty. Advertisement. Barrow said while kneeling on the ground with his head lowered. Get up first. By the way, don't call me Your Majesty in front of outsiders. Just call me Young Master. After all, my strength has not fully recovered yet, so it's better to keep a low profile. You must know that you are the first one I summoned. Where are the group members? Yong Fong said calmly, but inside he was almost dying of laughter, he was so happy. Yes, Your Majesty. Young Master, we will definitely sacrifice our lives for Your Majesty. Barrow became happy after hearing that he was the first person to be summoned, because the first one was not Yugelin. But if he knew that Yong Fong could not summon Yugelin, his mood would probably be unknown, but his loyalty to Yong Fong would never change. Yong Fong said that he would not seek death to withdraw his power randomly, and besides, he did not have this ability yet. By the way, Your Majesty, after I was summoned to this world by you, I can use 100 shadow guards besides myself. Do you want to let them come out now? Lii Barrow asked as if he suddenly remembered something. 100 shadow guards. Do each of you have so many shadow guards? Yong Fong asked doubtfully. I'm sorry, young master, I don't know what the situation is, but I can indeed use 100 shadow guards. Barrow shook his head and said he didn't know. It seems that we can only explore slowly. Let's call out 100 shadow guards. There happens to be a shortage of sailors on the ship, so it's just right for the shadow guards to serve. Yong Feng said that he was short of people at the moment, so the appearance of the shadow guard just helped him solve this problem. Chapter 27 Scattered Spirit Gloves Please collect. Advertisement. Barrow, to be honest, I really appreciate you this time. Your arrival has provided a good catalyst for my plan. At least I don't have to find a quiet place to do it. As he spoke, Yong Feng took out the soul-spreading gloves he had obtained before. Before, he planned to find a quieter place to practice the soul-spreading gloves, but it was different now. With Barrow, a person who is roughly estimated to have admiral strength, he doesn't worry about anyone disturbing him at all. After all, this is the weakest East Blue. How can it be possible for admiral-level combat power to appear like this? The only possible ones are Red Hair and Garp. One of these two people is almost as strong as Admiral now, and the other is probably at 4 Emperor's level. After all, being able to chase Roger into desperate situations several times is no joke. But if it were just these two people, he wouldn't have to worry. Neither Red Hair nor Garp are the kind of people who would take action at every turn, so having Barrow as a trump card in East Blue is enough. These are the spirit dispersing gloves. Is Your Majesty planning to take a shortcut? After seeing the spirit dispersing gloves, Barrow's eyes suddenly lit up and he asked. Shortcut? What shortcut? On the contrary, Yong Fong was suddenly confused by Barrow's words. Is the soul-spreading glove a shortcut? Yes, young master, the scattered spirit gloves were made by a junior. I have to say that the things he made are indeed very useful. Young master, you haven't recovered your memory and strength yet, so you don't know. The scattered spirit gloves are what we call shortcuts. They were transformed by later Quincy based on our Quincy's holy body. After putting on the scattered spirit gloves, you need to maintain the spiritual bow for 7 days. After completion, the power will increase dramatically, and after destroying the scattered spirit gloves, you can gain part of the power of the holy body. But after using the power of the holy body, the power of being a Quincy will disappear, but we finally found that if we stimulate the spirit arrow 19 mm next to the heart, the power will be completely released. Originally, the Quincy's power was sealed in this position after being stimulated. After the stimulation is released, the power will reach a crazy upward trend. Not many people only know this method, and it does not have many side effects, so we call it a shortcut. Quote. If Your Majesty wants to use this method to quickly regain power, it is indeed a shortcut. Barrow explained everything about the soul-scattering gloves in one breath, and Yong Feng also suddenly realized that this is what the soul-scattering gloves do. No wonder Ishida Ryu also cheated to that extent, but there are very few people who know this method. Advertisement. To be honest, Yong Feng is very curious about Ishida Longxian. How does this guy know these things? The scattered spirit gloves are okay, after all, it is not surprising that there are records or something. But what about the method of blocking Yhwach's power? Where did this guy know about it? Yong Feng didn't believe that a normal person would dissect his wife inexplicably. Ishida Ryuzutsu is a mystery among the Quincy. He basically knows everything, and he can only know if he really doesn't know. Of course, this is not what Yong Feng needs to know. There is no Ishida dragon string in this world, and this guy is no longer in the Star-Crossed Knights, so there is no need to worry about him. Then Barrow, I'll leave these 7 days to you. I have to maintain the spiritual bow during these 7 days, so I can't do anything. Yong Feng said after taking a look at Barrow. Don't worry, young master, leave it to me. This is our mission. Even if it is spelled with my name, I will not let the young master be harmed at all. Barrow said simply that his mission was to die for his majesty, Yong Feng, and to protect his majesty, even at the cost of his own life. Then I'll trouble you. After speaking, Yong Feng directly put on the spirit dispersing gloves on his hands. There doesn't seem to be any obvious changes. Yong Feng pinched his right hand and didn't feel any change. Young master, there will be no reaction when the spirit dispersing gloves are first put on. Changes will only occur when the spirit condensing bow is used. Barrow said very seriously. Ahem, I understand, you go down first. Yong Feng couldn't help but blush. Although this body is only 8 or 9 years old, he is still a modern person. He is naturally very precocious in the era of information explosion. Yes, young master, then I will resign first. Advertisement. After saying that, Barrow turned around and left, which also made Yong Feng breathe a sigh of relief. Although these guys would not betray him and he could pretend to be cool, in a situation like this, he would basically be slapped in the face instead of showing off. Will changes only occur when you condense the spiritual bow? Then let me see how difficult it is. After murmuring something, Yong Feng activated the Reiatsu in his body, trying to condense the spirit bow through the arc bird. At this moment, the arc bird had merged with the spirit dispersing glove. Therefore, if Reiatsu wants to condense the spirit bow, he must go through the spirit dispersing glove. But just as Yong Feng's Reiatsu passed by the spirit scattering glove, an extremely strong repulsive force came, instantly blasting Yong Feng's Reiatsu away, and a stream of blue spirit particles suddenly flew away. Such a strong repulsive force. It seems that it is not easy to condense the 7-day spiritual bow under such circumstances, but there is no reason why I should be weaker than Ishida or Ryu. Yong Fong continued the experiment without believing anything. An hour later, the blue spiritual bow slowly took shape, but it was quite unstable. Let alone shooting arrows, such a spiritual bow would dissipate immediately even if it was pulled open. At least it has been condensed. The next step is to maintain it. Yong Fong was not satisfied with this extremely powerful spiritual bow. The next moment, he had the power of repulsion to scatter Reiatsu, and once again regroup the spiritual bow. This process lasted for several hours, and finally a blue and white spiritual bow condensed in Yang Feng's hand. At this moment, the spiritual bow no longer had an illusory appearance, but became solid. It looks like a real bow and arrow. It was finally successful. The next step is to maintain it. It will take 7 days. After 7 days, everything will not be decided by me. Yang Feng watched the spiritual bow in his hand constantly refining Reiatsu and transporting him, making consumption and absorption an equivalent ratio, and a balance point was reached between the two. In short, Yang Feng has successfully completed the first training stage of the scattered spirit gloves. The next step is to maintain it. It would be a dream for an ordinary Quincy to maintain it for 7 days, but his Reiatsu has reached the level of deputy captain, which is enough. Chapter 28 Shimotsuki Village. Please collect. Advertisement. Young Master, it's already the 5th day. We can complete the practice of the scattered spirit gloves in 2 more days. However, the supplies on the ship are not enough. We must purchase some supplies. Barrow came to Yong Fong, who continued to maintain the spiritual bow, and said, "Are the supplies not enough?" "That's true. The expenses for more than 100 people are a little less. It just so happens that I have a permanent pointer to Shimotsuki Village. You can sail the ship to Shimotsuki Village in the direction of the pointer." As he spoke, Yong Feng took out a compass and handed it to Barrow, which he had found on the Mikar ship before. In addition to the permanent pointer of Shimotsuki Village, he also had a compass pointing to Logue Town and Kokoja Village. There are 3 permanent pointers in total, and according to the description on the nautical chart, it is now the closest to Shimotsuki Village. 1 day later, the ship successfully arrived at Shimotsuki Village without causing any fuss because of the merchant ship markings on the ship. On the contrary, Yong Feng and Barrow caused quite a stir when they walked on the street. "You see, the thing in the child's hand must be a bow and arrow. Why do you still keep the bow and arrow in your hand? And there are still people using bows and arrows now. How backward." An uncle selling vegetables looked at the bow and arrow in Yang Feng's hand and was speechless. "Who would use this thing now that he has a gun?" "Stop talking. Didn't you see the guy behind him? Look at the gun behind him. He looks like someone we can't mess with. It's better not to talk about it." The boss next to him said with a "don't cause trouble" look on his face. Judging from his appearance, he seems to be a person who doesn't like to cause trouble. "What are you afraid of? We are so far away from each other. What's wrong? Aren't you just a little kid?" The vegetable seller said nonchalantly. "You want to die?" The next moment, Barrow disappeared behind Yong Feng and reappeared in front of the vegetable seller. The super gun behind him was also aimed at the boss's head, less than 1 centimeter away. Everyone was shocked, but they didn't know when Barrow disappeared, and the distance of more than 10 meters was reached in an instant. I. The vegetable seller was immediately startled. Seeing the muzzle of the gun pointed at his head, his whole body trembled like a sieve, and the sweat on his forehead dropped drop by drop. "This gentleman, he is also unintentional, please let him go once." Advertisement. Just when the vegetable seller thought he was dead, a voice appeared, which seemed extremely harsh in this silent scene. "Master, but still too weak." When Barrow turned around and saw the person coming, his first reaction was that he was a master. However, the next moment he realized that this person was only much stronger than the average person, but was still too weak compared to others. "This guy dares to insult my young master. Anyone who insults my young master must die." Barrow pointed his gun at the vegetable seller and said expressionlessly. "Forget it, Barrow, it's just a sentence. There is no need to go to this extent." Yong Feng, who had been stunned for a while, spoke. He did not expect that Barrow would take action just because of a comment. "Yes, young master." After hearing Yang Feng's words, Barrow took back the spirit gun in his hand and put it on his back. Bang! Seeing the gun pointed at him disappear, the vegetable seller sat on the ground in an instant. He was so scared when he realized that he was so close to death for the first time. "Thank you very much, little brother. In return, please come to my dojo and sit for a while. By the way, my name is Koshiro." Yang Feng suddenly realized, it turned out to be Koshiro. No wonder he could feel a strong aura from Koshiro, even though Koshiro had restrained his aura. But who is Yang Feng? He is a Quincy. Like Shinigami, Quincy uses Reiatsu to identify the strength of the opponent, which represents the soul. A strong soul cannot be weak. "Then let's stop disturbing you. Let's go, Barrow. It's enough to leave the procurement to the Shadow Guard." Yang Feng said to Barrow. "Yes, young master." It was impossible for Barrow to disobey Yang Feng's wishes, so he nodded without hesitation. Shadow Guard, young master, and the bow and arrow in his hand. I'm getting more and more curious. Which young master can let such a strong man serve as a guard? And he is so determined to do it. Koshiro was also very curious about this, but on the surface there was no change at all. He took the two of them back to the dojo. Along the way, Koshiro was loved by the villagers, and there was an endless stream of people saying hello. Advertisement. Thank you both for giving me face today. Please have some tea. Koshiro placed 2 cups of tea in front of Barrow and Yong Fong picked it up and drank it without hesitation. However, Barrow remained motionless and would not make any move until he received the order. Don't you take off the bow and arrow in your hand. This must be very inconvenient. Koshiro looked at the bow and arrow in Yang Feng's right hand and asked with confusion. Sorry, I can't. It will take another day. I have a last resort and cannot put the bow down until tomorrow. It is naturally impossible for Yong Fong to loose the spiritual bow. After all, this is the last day. If he looses it, he will miss the mark. Really, it's me, Meng Lang. Koshiro was also stunned. If people didn't want to tell him, then he just wouldn't ask. By the way, Mr. Koshiro, there is something I want to ask of you. Yong Fong suddenly said, what is it? As long as it's something I can do and it doesn't violate my rules, I can help. He had a good impression of Yong Fong, so he agreed. My bow and arrow will be completed tomorrow, so how about asking Mr. Koshiro to fight with me tomorrow? Although it is a bit unethical, you use the knife and I use the bow and arrow. Yong Fong was a little embarrassed when he said this. After all, if a man with a bow and arrow beats a man with a knife, the man with the bow and arrow would take advantage. Sparring. But why do you want to fight with me? Because I am the master of this dojo. Koshiro asked with a puzzled look on his face. He had completely restrained his aura. There was no reason for a child to notice it. You are very strong. This is what my intuition tells me. My intuition has always been very accurate, so please fight me. I also want to know how strong my strength is. As a swordsman, Mr. Koshiro should be able to help me test my strength. Yong Feng looked at Koshiro and said, yes, the current Koshiro is not the great swordsman in the future, but seeing a swordsman in East Blue is considered good luck. Chapter 29. Skyrocketing strength, please collect. Advertisement. Did you see it? Your intuition is really terrifying. I have completely concealed my aura, but I didn't expect you to still see through it. I even doubt whether you are a child after all. Koshiro looked at Yong Feng and said, Yong Feng didn't feel like a child at all, but more like a cunning fox. He didn't know if this was an illusion. How about it? Do you agree? Even though I am only 8 or 9 years old now, my strength is not weak. Yong Feng said calmly. Okay, I promise you. I didn't expect that a swordsman like me, Koshiro, would accept the challenge of an 8 or 9-year-old child. It's incredible. Then you two go to rest first. I will prepare a guest room for you two. After Koshiro finished speaking, he laughed at himself and shook his head. He had always believed that as a swordsman, he should cultivate his moral character and not fight. However, he found that he was wrong. He still couldn't resist the fighting emotion. Of course, the more important target turned out to be a child, and the pressure on him from the guard named Barrow was even greater, as if he would die in an instant. Teacher, why did you agree to spar with that kid? He seems to be in no position to let you take action. The disciple in charge of cleaning asked with a puzzled look on his face. He was very confused as to why he, a super powerful teacher, would accept the challenge of a child. You know, I have a feeling that he is very strong. After saying this, Koshiro left, leaving his apprentice confused. What does it mean that he is strong? How strong can an 8 or 9-year-old child be? This disciple was puzzled, but that didn't mean he would keep this secret. In a blink of an eye, this so-called secret was immediately known to everyone. In less than half an hour, everyone in the village knew. Have you heard? Mr. Koshiro actually wants to spar with a child. Do you think it's true? Idiot, of course it's true, otherwise how could the people in the dojo dare to spread it everywhere? Don't you know how strict Mr. Koshiro is to his disciples? The villagers were talking about this matter, and almost all the streets and alleys were discussing this matter, while Yang Feng, one of the protagonists, continued to maintain his spiritual vow, which was almost completed. Of the 7 days, I spent 5 days on the boat, then 1 day on the road, and it was the last day when we arrived here. Advertisement. At this moment, Barrow did not return to his room, but was standing guard for Yang Feng. It had to be said that Barrow was indeed loyal to Yhwach. It's no wonder that Yhwach selected him as one of the 4 people with the most potential, and brought him to the Soul King's palace, spreading the power of others among them. Boom. Yang Feng, who was maintaining the spiritual bow, suddenly felt as if something exploded in his head. The spiritual bow was fully formed, and the repulsive force of the spirit dispersing gloves completely disappeared, as if it had never appeared. Did you make it? Barrow outside the house glanced back at the house and continued to stand there. In the past few days, not only Yang Feng, but also Barrow had not slept at all. But this is nothing to those who practice Reiatsu. They can use Reiatsu to nourish their soul and spirit without sleeping, and the effect is even better than sleeping. Successful, the spirit bow can be retracted. The next step is to find pressure to unlock the restrictions of the spirit dispersing gloves. Then Barrow will take back my power. In this way, I can gain more powerful power and open a shortcut. Quote. Looking at the spirit dispersing gloves in his hand, Yang Feng fell into deep thought. At this moment, his Reiatsu also skyrocketed, reaching the intermediate level of deputy captain. This improvement was already quite significant. Don't you see that the vice captain of the Shinigami world stays for decades or hundreds of years? It is already considered good that Yang Feng can improve Reiatsu to this level in a few days. And this time, Yang Feng also learned a skill once again with this improvement, pretending to be Tiankui indiscriminately. The ability to pretend to be Tiankui indiscriminately is to keep fighting. It can be regarded as a kind of flip trick. No matter how injured it is, even if the hands and feet are separated, tendons are ruptured, etc., you can use Tiankui to support you and continue fighting. This is a skill that allows the old Quincy to keep fighting, and it is also a trick that allows the seriously injured Quincy to continue fighting until the last moment. It can be regarded as a desperate move. But I have to say that this skill is indeed very important. Being strong is not scary. The most terrifying thing is immune to death, just like Kaido. Marine can capture him, but can't kill him, so the most terrifying thing is immune to death. At this moment, Yang Feng's strength must have skyrocketed. It has reached a level where he himself feels very strong. A devil fruit almost made his strength undergo earth-shaking changes. Advertisement. The most important one is Barrow. Although he cannot learn skills from Barrow, he can use Barrow's experience and knowledge to let Barrow guide his practice. This is more practical than wandering around on the wild road alone. Barrow, you should go back and rest first. I have finished training on the scattered spirit gloves. Yong Fong naturally knew that Barrow was watching from outside at this moment, so he spoke and told Barrow to leave directly. After all, Barrow was his subordinate, not a slave. Yhwach did not treat his men as human beings, so he died at the hands of his own people. Yang Feng would not take this path. Even if the system gave him subordinates who would never betray him, he was not the kind of person who would not treat his subordinates as human beings. Then I will take my leave first, young master. Barrow also felt that this majesty had changed a lot compared to the previous one, so he turned around and left and returned to his room. The night passed quickly, and early the next morning there were people outside the dojo. It didn't take much to figure out that these people were all here to see Koshiro and Yong Fong compete. There are really enough people here. Taking a look at the dense crowd, Yong Fong was speechless. Why didn't he see so many people in Shimsky village yesterday, and so many people suddenly appeared today? I'm really sorry that you are here. It was my disciples who spread the news, so they were all attracted here. Koshiro said with an embarrassed look on his face. He didn't expect that his disciple would be so loud and talk about everything. It doesn't matter, but the venue can't be here. You know I use a bow and arrow, and these people can't watch. At most, they can only watch from a high place, otherwise they will be accidentally injured by me. I can't guarantee whether my arrows will flying everywhere. After looking at the crowd of people watching, Yong Fong opened his mouth and stated his request. Chapter 30 Battle against Koshiro. Open black lens bracket. Please collect close black lens bracket. Advertisement. That's true. After all, you use a bow and arrows, but are you sure you don't want to bring a bow and arrows? Koshiro suddenly realized that indeed, long-distance combat tools such as bows and arrows were not suitable for fighting in such a place. Not only were they restricted, but the most important thing was that they would cause no injuries. But at this moment, there was no sign of a bow or arrow on Yong Fong, and Barrow was still carrying nothing but a big gun, so Koshiro was confused. Decide on the location first. I always carry my bow and arrows with me. Yong Fong smiled mysteriously. Strange powers generally do not appear in the pirate world. People who use these strange powers will only have demon fruit power, so his Reiatsu will naturally be judged as devil fruit power. Really? Then I'll wait and see. Koshiro also smiled and stopped worrying about this issue. He led Yong Fong to a basin-like terrain, with the people around him standing on top. Overall, it was a good battleground. Mr. Koshiro, are you sure you want to use the bamboo sword? This time is not a simple sparring match. Yong Fong glanced at the bamboo sword in Koshiro's hand and said, he was not using a bow and arrow made of bamboo, so he who already had an advantage in the battle naturally had a greater advantage. It's just a discussion, the bamboo sword is enough. Koshiro still underestimated Yong Fong. After all, the age of Yang Feng's body was here. If his intuition as a swordsman hadn't told him that this boy was not simple, he would not have agreed to the duel. Really? Then you have to be careful, otherwise you might lose. As Yong Fong urged Reiatsu, a blue and white spiritual bow instantly appeared on the loose spirit glove. The size of the bow was exactly the same as Yang Feng's. There was nothing that could be done about it. Who said he was still a little kid? Yesterday's bow and arrow, so it is like this, demon fruit power. The reason why you continued to maintain this bow before was probably because you were developing your ability. I never thought that you would be a demon fruit power. These words are not suitable to be said here, take an arrow from me first. The bowstring was pulled open by Yong Fong, and Reiatsu instantly condensed into a blue arrow, and aimed at the bamboo sword in Koshiro's hand the next moment. Danger. Very dangerous, you will die if you don't avoid it. This was Koshiro's first reaction when he saw the arrow, and then there was a burst of disbelief. He couldn't believe that the bow and arrow in the hands of a little kid could kill him, even with demon fruit power. Advertisement. Chirp. The arrow left the string and drew a blue straight line in the air, reaching Koshiro instantly. So fast. Chop. Koshiro did not dare to underestimate Yong Fong. The bamboo sword in his hand suddenly swung down and condensed his sword energy as a swordsman. The golden sword energy and the blue arrows collided instantly. Boom. There was a loud noise and countless dust was kicked up on the ground. The arrow collided with the bamboo sword, instantly causing Koshiro's arm to be injured, and the bamboo sword in his hand had been blown into pieces. I said, if you don't fight me with all your strength, you will suffer a lot. Yong Fong said expressionlessly. He was not happy that he could injure a swordsman. After all, he had taken advantage of him, and Koshiro underestimated him, which was why he was like this. The sword in a swordsman's hand originally represents his strength. If the sword does not fit the hand, even the swordsman will not be able to exert some strength. I really underestimated you. I didn't expect that you would get it in my hands in an instant. The bow and arrow in your hand are really powerful. I'm curious about what fruit you ate. Is there such a thing as a bow and arrow fruit? Although Koshiro said that the bamboo sword in his hand was shattered on the ground and his right hand was injured, this did not hinder his curiosity. Even so, besides, you'd better change your knife, otherwise there will be no need to continue fighting. Yong Fong shook his head and looked at Koshiro and said. I know, I did underestimate you. As a swordsman, I underestimated others. I really shouldn't have. Then I will fight with all my strength. You have to be careful. Koshiro said and pulled out the sword from his waist. This sword is naturally the Wado Ikimonji used by Kuina in the original work. Kuina is only 3 or 4 years old at this moment, so the sword is naturally still in Koshiro's hand. At this moment, Kuina followed Koshiro's disciples to the venue to watch the two fight. I have to say that the 3 and 4-year-old kids in this world are really precocious and already know a lot of things. If they were in the previous life, they probably wouldn't know where to play in the mud. Brother William, is my father's opponent that little brother? Advertisement. Kuina pointed at Yong Feng and asked with a cute look on her face. That's right, even though he is still a child, the bamboo knife in the teacher's hand was shattered by one arrow just now. I really didn't expect that bows and arrows can be so lethal, with the power of ordinary cannonballs. Quote. Koshiro's disciples also had their eyes widened. They knew that their teacher was powerful, but they didn't know how powerful his teacher was. Now they have finally seen something. Bows, arrows and knives can produce the same power as cannonballs, even to the point of terrifying explosions. This kid is really powerful. He actually shot the teacher's bamboo sword to pieces with one arrow. We have never broken the teacher's bamboo sword before. Even with a real sword, it's impossible. Koshiro's disciples kept talking about the arrow just now. Although it was only a short burst, it did not prevent them from seeing that Yang Feng, a kid who was only 8 or 9 years old, was a strong man. Then let's start in earnest. Please give me some advice. After saying this, Koshiro held the Wado Ikimonji in his hand with both hands. Ito Ryu, aye. Then let me introduce you to, Arsaku, please give me some advice. Yang Feng glanced at Koshiro's movements and opened the bowstring again, and the blue arrows condensed out again. Ark, what's the name of your bow? What a good name. Be careful next, I'm going to do my best. After speaking, Koshiro's eyes flashed, and his whole temperament changed drastically. He instantly changed from the amiable uncle before to a strong man with a sharp aura all over his body. One sword style, aye, kill. The light flashed, and a huge golden slash 10 meters high burst out from the word, He Dao, and blasted towards Yang Feng. Arc Sparrow, continuous shooting, 3-star continuous shooting. The first arrow shot out, the second immediately followed, and immediately after the third, the 3 arrows shot forward in a straight line, and instantly collided with the golden slash. Chapter 31. Full Power Explosion, another chapter on the weekend, please collect. Advertisement. Boom boom boom. 3 arrows hit the golden slash one after another, aiming at a point and shooting at it, instantly splitting the 10-meter long slash into 2. Yang Feng used the piercing power of the bow and arrow to instantly split the golden slash into 2 halves. The golden slash split into 2 halves and missed Yang Feng, cutting into the opposite stone wall. Immediately, the stone wall was cut into 2 huge holes, which looked extremely terrifying. How is it possible that you can exert such power just by slashing? What kind of power is this? The onlookers were all shocked and excited. Naturally, they had never seen such a scene before. It was too exaggerated. They were from East Blue and from a small village. Naturally, his understanding of weapons is that guns and cannons are the most powerful. As for what a devil fruit is, he has no idea at all, and he has no idea what a swordsman is. In their eyes, the sword is actually a kind of cold weapon. No matter how powerful it is, it can only cut things apart, and it does not have the capability of large-scale destruction. Before, they thought that Yang Feng had taken advantage. After all, bows and arrows were obviously more advantageous than knives. However, Yang Feng was a child after all, and it was hard for others to say anything considering this. So they just competed like this, but now Koshiro and Yang Feng taught them a lesson. It turns out that cold weapons can also exert such a powerful force. Koshiro's slashing attack is strong enough. It can even cut through stone walls. How could it be weak? But what about Yang Feng? Koshiro's slash was cut in half with 3 quick combos. What does that mean? They had never seen such an exaggerated battle before. Now they understood why the venue was changed here. If it was in the dojo, I'm afraid the dojo would have been demolished by the 2 of them. Continue. The 4 blue spirit arrows condensed again. This time, the 4 arrows were fired at the same time. The 4 blue arrows turned into 4 afterimages and brought with them the sound of breaking through the air. This shows how fast the arrows are. Quick. Dang dang dang. But just like that, all 4 arrows were intercepted by Koshiro at a strange speed. Boom boom boom. The arrow was knocked away, but its power was still there. Several large craters were instantly blown out where it landed, which looked extremely terrifying. The people above were covered in cold sweat. This was much more powerful than the so-called artillery shells. Advertisement. After knocking the arrow away, Koshiro's feet accelerated, and his whole body turned into afterimages and rushed towards Yang Feng. The speed was so fast that even the people watching above couldn't help but rub their eyes. One sword style, whirlwind slash. Dao Yiwen drew a beautiful arc in the air and slashed towards Yong Fong with a hint of destruction. Flying feet. Yong Fong immediately stepped on Fei Lian's feet and disappeared in a flash, while Dao Yiwen slashed directly, and the blade brought up a gust of wind, forming an arc and scattering destruction. After the strong wind stopped, countless small cuts appeared on the stone wall opposite that originally had 2 large knife marks. It's so powerful. My father is so powerful. I have decided that I will become a swordsman like my father in the future. No, I will become the best swordsman in the world. Seeing Koshiro's outstanding performance, Kuina, Koshiro's woman, instantly became interested in kendo and shouted out. But the people around him didn't care at all and just regarded it as a child's joke. How could they go into detail about what a child said? Such a fast footwork, like a shave in Marine 6 styles, of course, the speed is imperceptible. Koshiro was also surprised when he saw that there was no target in front of him. He could tell that this was not shaving. To use shaving, you had to step on the ground 10 or even dozens of times in order to use the powerful force to push yourself out. This would make too much noise, and as a swordsman, he would naturally be able to detect it, but Yang Feng's disappearing trick was very strange. Who would have thought that Yang Feng used Reiatsu? Chirp. Just when Koshiro was confused, several blue arrows came with a bang. Koshiro reacted and immediately used the Wado Ikimonji in his hand to block it, but this time he discovered something different. This time the arrow was much more powerful than the last one, so that he was caught off guard and didn't have enough strength in his hand. The arrow did not fall where he expected, but fell directly around him. Boom boom boom. The arrow hit the ground and exploded again, but this time Koshiro was at the center of the arrow explosion. Countless amounts of dust were blown up in all directions, and the field was instantly covered with dust. Advertisement. Buzz. The next moment, a golden slash came out of it and struck at Shinshin, who had been shot by arrows before. Yang Feng didn't even bother to dodge, and shot out a few arrows, exploding the golden slash. Mr. Koshiro, if you don't use your full strength now, you will be defeated. Yang Feng looked at Koshiro in the smoke and said. He could see that Koshiro did not use all his strength. In the original book, after Zoro reached the peak of the swordsman, he was able to cut such a huge pika into pieces with one sword, and the same was naturally true for Koshiro. At this moment, Koshiro has been at the peak of swordsmanship for some time, but after all, he cannot enter the realm of great swordsmanship, but his combat power is completely more than that. The destructive ability of the peak swordsman is no weaker than that of ordinary Logia, but it is not as good as that of top Logia users. The peak combat power of a swordsman can completely cut through the top of a mountain, and a single sword can destroy a street. It seems that I have underestimated you, so I will try my best next, and the warm-up ends here. Koshiro said, holding the knife in his hand tighter. What? Warming up? These two guys are lying. The people above suddenly boiled, more boiling than ever before. Such fierce fighting power, including slashing waves and explosions, was just a warm-up. Shouldn't it be so exaggerated? Such people are simply monsters. I have decided that starting from today, I will also learn kendo. This is what we men should have. Wrong, it's not kendo, it's archery. Didn't you see that the kid is only 8 or 9 years old? Mr. Koshiro is almost 30 years old, right? Fart, just now Mr. Koshiro said he was a demon fruit power. Do you know what it is? You are still imitating others. They are special idiots. The young people above immediately started making noises. After all, who doesn't desire such extraordinary power? But these things depend on talent, and not everyone can master them. Otherwise, wouldn't the entire pirate world be full of great swordsmen? Chapter 32 The Real Power Please Collect. Advertisement. What's going on? Why do I feel like the air has become oppressive? Is it my imagination? After Koshiro exerted all his strength, the peak strength of the swordsman was fully displayed, and the huge momentum enveloped the entire venue, making all onlookers feel dull, and even those with poor health felt suffocated. I understand. This is what the teacher said about the aura after a swordsman. Anyone who enters the realm of a swordsman will naturally understand this power. It is not only aura, but also one of the means to fight against the enemy. One of Koshiro's disciples suddenly understood and explained it to everyone. Yes, I also remember what the teacher said. I thought it was just the teacher bragging, but it turns out it's all true, and the teacher is actually a swordsman. It's so exciting. The other students on the side also remembered what their teacher said, but their structure was too small and they didn't understand the horror of top combat power, so they took it as a joke. Are you going to use all your strength? Although it cannot threaten me, it is a great threat to the young master. Barrow, who was still calm at first, directly took off the spirit gun behind him. In order to prevent Yong Fong from getting hurt, he had to take precautions, otherwise he would feel quite guilty if Yong Fong was injured or died. Feel. One sword style, slash horizontally. An even more golden light flashed out, and the sword light that reached a terrifying 50 or 60 meters suddenly burst out, and blasted towards Lei Feng with a completely irresistible trend. It's such a strong force, it's beyond my ability to deal with it, 5 stars in a row. This is the highest number of stacks that Yong Feng can use at this moment. 5 bows and arrows arranged in a line is already his current limit. After all, he just broke through not long ago, so it is understandable. Dang 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 dang. With a crisp sound, the 5 blue arrows were completely chopped into pieces by the golden sword energy, and the light of the sword instantly became much dimmer, and most of its power was directly reduced. Damn it, break it for me. Advertisement. Yong Fong was heartbroken. He was now locked. Even using Felian Kick was useless. The golden sword light would follow him until the energy was exhausted or the target was hit. After knowing that he could not dodge, Yong Fong opened the bowstring, and the arrows condensed again, and shot out in an instant. The golden slash finally exploded this time. However, the scope of the explosion also enveloped Yong Fong. Yong Feng's body was blown directly to the ground, and a large hole was instantly opened on the ground. Damn it, he has become so strong all of a sudden. It seems that I have underestimated the swordsmen in this world. I have been subconsciously weakening the power of these swordsmen in the hope of Hawkeye's power. Yong Feng instantly realized his mistake. He still underestimated others. After all, the explanations in the original work were too easy to confuse. A swordsman who can cut through steel is a swordsman. So how worthless a swordsman is? Does the power shown by Zoro in the later period seem like a person who can only cut steel? So Yong Feng also subconsciously thought that a swordsman was someone who could only cut through steel. Even if he knew sword energy, he wouldn't be very scary. But now he found that he was wrong, and the wrong was outrageous. The result of all this was that his left hand was directly dislocated. Although he escaped a large part of the force of the explosion just now, he still suffered a certain amount of damage because it hit the ground. You can't use your arms anymore, aren't you going to admit defeat now? Koshiro glanced at Yong Feng and said. At this moment, there were little beads of sweat on his forehead. He did not expect that a little kid would push himself to this extent. If Yong Feng didn't use a bow and arrow, he would probably be the same. Did Yong Feng eat some fruit that can make him younger? After all, there are too many types of devil fruit, logia, zone, paramesha, among which paramesha is the weirdest. Things like shock fruit, lion fruit, etc. are even more destructive than logia in the later stages of development. It's almost like cheating. Even a rubber fruit can be developed to that extent. Moreover, the sugar around Doflamingo cannot continue to grow after eating the childlike fruit, so there are too many weird fruits in this world. Who knows what other fruits have abilities? Admit defeat. Mr. Koshiro, you underestimate me. Even if my arm is dislocated, I can still fight, pretending to be Tiankui. As Yong Feng shouted loudly, the spirit seeds gathered into a bandage and wrapped directly around Yong Feng's hand, and he instantly felt that his left hand could be controlled by him. Advertisement. The left hand that had been unable to be used instantly rested on the bowstring again, and Koshiro was stunned for a moment. What a strange move. Although I don't know how you did it, I'm almost at my limit. The next move will determine the outcome. As he spoke, Koshiro put his Wado Ikimonji back into the scabbard. Why did you take it back? Is Mr. Koshiro going to admit defeat? He obviously has the upper hand. The audience above was surprised and didn't understand what Koshiro was going to do. I'm afraid if I find out, the teacher will definitely use the unique skill of the Ido Ryu to draw the sword and slash. This is the most powerful move in the Ido Ryu. Does the teacher want to kill that kid? Everyone else was shocked when they saw their teacher's actions. Not only did he use his own knife to deal with a child, he was actually forced to use a special move. Why is the trick called a trick? Because it is absolutely powerful, it is a move that should never be used except as a last resort. But now that Koshiro actually wants to use this move on a child, other people will naturally find it creepy. Father, come on, we must defeat him. The little Lolita Kuina yelled heartlessly, and the shocked atmosphere in the audience suddenly disappeared, and everyone was speechless. This atmosphere was destroyed by a little girl. Come on, I've been wanting to learn your clever tricks for a long time. Yong Feng drew his bowstring, looked at Koshiro with a haughty expression, and said, although he was scared, he had his own reasons not to retreat. If the first time happened, the second time would happen, and the third time, sooner or later he would become a trash that only knows how to shrink back. This is not what he wants. People say they run away if they can't fight, but what happens after running away? When you see someone stronger than you, run away, and wait until you meet someone stronger to ask what you should do. In the end, you can't back down. Why do these people have to go up even if they know they will die? Because they need to become stronger. If they escape, they will naturally have no chance to become stronger. This is a test. Chapter 33 The Terrifying Barrow, please collect. Advertisement. I admit you, even though you are only a little older, your strength has been recognized by me. The most important thing is your character. You already have everything a swordsman should have. Koshiro said with emotion on his face, an 8 or 9-year-old child, who also plays bow and arrow, is more suitable to become a swordsman than those so-called swordsmen. To be honest, he doesn't even know what's going on. Really, that's a real compliment from Mr. Koshiro. This should be the last blow. To be honest, I'm really no match for you, but I still want to see your unique moves, let's do it. As he spoke, a large amount of Reiatsu from Yong Feng's body poured into the spiritual bow. The spiritual bow, which was already about the same size as him, once again surged to more than 2 meters high. The arrow on the bowstring no longer looked like an arrow, but like a spear. At this moment, Yong Feng also knew that he could not use quantity to win, he could only use quality, and used all the Reiatsu in his body to condense a wave of energy. A huge spirit arrow. This was his last resort. After all, he had already used all the methods, and even beads and arrows couldn't cause much damage to Koshiro. It seemed that he still needed to continue to develop it. The Quincy part of Shinigami has completely abandoned the bow and arrow concept, and has more other special moves, such as the superheroes in support of Masco and James. The two of them did not have bows and arrows at all. The later Quincy were no longer limited to bows and arrows, but more often used swords, knives, and bodies. In short, at that level of strength, so-called spiritual bows have become a joke, and few will continue to use spiritual bows. Ichitoryu, draw your sword and slash. A flash of light flashed in Koshiro's eyes, he drew his sword, struck out, and instantly retracted it in one go, but a terrifying sword energy reaching a height of 100 meters was formed in midair. The sword energy was milky white, no longer golden, but the destructive power within it was even more exaggerated than the golden sword energy. Brush. The bowstring in Yang Feng's hand was loosened, and the arrows shot out like meteors. The two collided with each other and were deadlocked in midair. Whoa whoa whoa. The aftermath directly blew away the surrounding crowd. Only those who had practiced kendo with Koshiro could barely stand. The crowd formed a human wall to block Kuina from behind. Otherwise, with such a small body, Kuina would probably be blown away immediately. It's so terrifying. This is no longer a situation that can be caused by human power. Advertisement. Shut up, everyone, the wind will blow. Everyone originally planned to say a few words, but the next moment countless winds poured directly into their mouths, instantly shutting up several people. At this moment, the aftermath was still spreading, and they could only barely open their eyes to watch, otherwise their eyes would probably be injured. What's going on with that guy? Such a strong aftermath doesn't happen at all. How is this possible? Then everyone turned their attention to Barrow at the front. At this moment, Barrow had no change at all. He was still standing as he should. For these people, such a battle is indeed amazing, but for Mr. Barrow, such a battle is simply not on the table. He is very strong. After all, he is one of the most valued people by Yhwach. But at this moment, he didn't change at all, as if the so-called aftermath couldn't cause any harm to him at all, but his eyes were always staring at the sky. The huge white sword energy and blue arrows in the sky formed two opposite sides, and neither of them gave way to the other, constantly impacting each other. Kaka. Just when the two were in a stalemate, cracks appeared on both the blue arrow and the white sword energy. The next moment, the blue arrow was shattered instantly, while the white sword energy continued to move forward, slashing at Yong Fong. Past. Seeing this scene, Barrow disappeared instantly and appeared in front of Yong Fong the next time, with the spiritual gun Tiagrain in his hand aimed at the white sword energy. Holy Mie Ya, everyone in the Knights of the Star Cross is one of the Grandmaster's moves, and it is also one of the traditional skills passed down by Yhwach. The blue spirit particles gathered in the spirit gun diagonal, and the next moment they turned into a spirit bullet and shot out. It abandoned its original traditional form, leaving only the appearance of the bullet. It looked like an ordinary bullet. Both. Kacha. The moment the blue bullet hit the sword energy, it directly crushed the sword energy into pieces, and shot towards a mountain on the opposite side with undiminished power. Boom. Advertisement. Naturally, it exploded the moment it hit the mountain. Reiatsu exploded, creating a blue mushroom cloud that looked like a nuclear bomb. This blow was a random strike from Barrow, but its power was terrifying like never before. Nearly a third of the mountain on the opposite side was blown away by Barrow's bullets in an instant, which shows its strength. It is not an exaggeration to call it a monster. How is it possible? How could such a powerful person appear in East Blue? And the gun he used just now, even if it is the world government's gun, is just like this. What is going on? Koshiro is stupid. His disciples were stupid. Little lowly Kuina is stupid. The many villagers who were blown away were also stunned. Everyone is stupid. Nearly one-third of such a huge mountain was blown away. At this moment, the mountain seemed to be lame. The top was intact, but only half of the bottom was left, as if it would collapse at any time. Koshiro simply cannot imagine such destructive power. In his eyes, even if it reaches the level of a great swordsman, it is nothing more than this. Such power is really terrifying and a bit too much. Young master, are you okay? Not to mention how surprised these guys were, Barrow didn't care about these things at the moment. As long as his young master had nothing to do, he could just let the others die how they wanted. It had no impact on him at all. It's okay, but Barrow, your strength is really terrifying. You actually launched such a terrifying attack in an instant. This is before you have finished using the holy body. It seems that I have to re-evaluate your strength. Yong Fong said with a confused look on his face. He had always thought that he had a high opinion of Barrow's strength, and it was good to position his strength at the admiral level. But now it seems that he was still wrong. Barrow's strength has reached a terrifying level that he cannot estimate again. Because it was beyond the estimated range, such an attack was carried out without opening the holy body. So what happens after the holy body is opened? Or how strong will it be after that strengthening? Now Yong Feng doesn't dare to think about it anymore. Chapter 34 Women cannot become great swordsmen. Please collect. Advertisement. Can you tell me what kind of gun you are using? Why is it so powerful? Koshiro asked with a bitter look on his face. His strongest trick was crushed like this. Of course he felt bitter in his heart, but he really couldn't express the bitterness now. Mr. Koshiro, actually you shouldn't ask. You should ask about Barrow's strength, because this gun is the same as my bow and arrow. That is to say, the gun is the same in everyone's hands, and it can't even do any damage in your hands, but it is different in Barrow's hands. He can use Tiagolan to destroy a town. This is the power of Barrow. The so-called weapons are only secondary. In the final analysis, human strength is the most important. Yong Feng shook his head and said, as for Barrow, he didn't speak at all. After all, Koshiro almost killed his young master just now, how could he still look good to Koshiro? I see. It seems that I was mistaken. So I think I lost this fight. After all, fighting a child like you is a dishonorable thing, and I used my full strength. Koshiro said with a look of helplessness. Only now did he remember that Yong Fong was a little brat. During the previous battle, he no longer regarded Yong Fong as a brat, but as a strong man like himself. If you lose, you lose. Who can guarantee that you will never fail in your life? No matter who you are, you will experience failure. Failure is not terrible. What is terrible is that you cannot stand up again after failure. This is the most terrible thing. Quote. As a person in the age of the information explosion, Yong Fong naturally does not dislike failure. As the saying goes, failure is the mother of success. It is easy to fall when you reach the sky in one step, and the higher you fly, the worse you fall. This is a hard truth, no matter which world you are in. No one can directly become God tier in one step. Whether it is strength or reputation, they are all accumulated slowly by oneself. It seems that I am not as open-minded as a child like you. You are right. Winning or losing is absolute. Others don't care about the process, only the results. Koshiro suddenly realized, and said calmly, and then returned to the gentle Koshiro before, and his aura completely calmed down. Teacher, how about it? Who will win this match? The three of them were greeted with questions as soon as they returned to the ground, but no one dared to be too presumptuous. After all, Barrow's shot just now was too shocking. That was a mountain, not a cat or a dog, but it collapsed with just one shot. I would still believe you if you collapsed a person, but you actually collapsed a mountain. I didn't really believe it at first, but everyone saw it with their own eyes. How could everyone not be shocked and surprised? Advertisement. I won, but I don't think it's worth being happy to win against an 8 or 9-year-old kid, and I still tried my best. Well, Koshiro still can't let go of Yang Feng's age, but it's right to think about it. If you are a veteran strong player but lose to an emerging star, what would you think? Of course I feel unbalanced. Father, you are so powerful. I will definitely become a swordsman like you in the future. No, I want to surpass you and become the world's greatest swordsman. The little Lolita Kuina jumped up to her father and spoke boldly. Don't believe it, Kuina, you will never be able to become the world's greatest swordsman. Even being a great swordsman will have a hard time. Koshiro's expression suddenly changed, he looked at Kuina and said. Why, father, I will never be weaker than others. Kuina asked with an unconvinced look. Because you are a girl, and girl strength is inherently inferior to that of boys, so your talent is limited. Even if you become a swordsman, you will never be able to become a great swordsman. This is still ironclad. Reason. Koshiro said with a serious face, while others also frowned. Is it really okay to hit a little girl like this? Koshiro first, where did you hear this from? Women cannot become great swordsmen. Where did this crooked truth come from? Yong Feng laughed when he heard this fallacy in person. No wonder this guy has been stuck at the swordsman level and cannot enter the realm of the great swordsman. It turns out there is a reason. Actually, men and women, if they can enter the realm of the great swordsman with this kind of thinking, but what the hell? This is not a fallacy. This is something that everyone we meet in practice knows. It is also a hard truth that has been passed down from generation to generation. Koshiro said calmly, this is the conclusion drawn from countless experiments in the past. In short, there is no such creature as a female great swordsman in this sea. Yong Feng sneered at this, a female great swordsman, if you know Hana Retsu from the Shinigami world was placed in this world, wouldn't she be a proper great swordsman? Of course, Yong Feng thought this was unreasonable and frowned at the same time. Maybe it was the influence of the world. It is true that women in Seoul society have become masters of swordsmanship, but this world has never heard of a female great swordsman in history. The highest achievement is the peak of swordsmanship. Father, am I really unable to become a great swordsman? Advertisement. Kuina was so anxious that tears began to accumulate in her big watery eyes. She had a tendency to cry for you if you tell her. This, not only Koshiro is helpless, but others are also helpless. Little girl, do you really want to become the world's greatest swordsman? Yong Feng asked as he squatted in front of Kuina. Of course, I will definitely surpass my father and become the world's #1 swordsman. Kuina held back her tears and shouted with full energy again. You really have the fighting spirit, so what if you can't become a great swordsman? After all, no woman has ever become a great swordsman in history. Yang Feng asked, I have to say that the little kids in this world are really precocious, knowing so many things at the age of 3. Then I will, wow wow wow. Kuina burst into tears. In her opinion, it makes sense for so many people to say this. After all, 3 people are like a tiger, and 1 slap cannot make a difference. Don't cry yet, I have a way to make you stronger than the world's greatest swordsman. Don't cry yet. After seeing Kuina cry, Yang Feng instantly felt that his tooth hurt. What he couldn't stand the most was a girl crying, especially such a little brat, and he couldn't resist it. Really? Do you really have a way to make me the world's greatest swordsman? The 3-year-old girl looked at Yang Feng with a cute look on her face and asked. At this moment, she didn't realize who the greatest swordsman was, but she thought she was the swordsman's daughter. Chapter 35. Promise at the age of 10 please collect. Advertisement. That's not what I said. What I said was surpassing the world's greatest swordsman, okay, not the world's greatest swordsman. Yang Feng couldn't help but frown. He hadn't yet figured out whether the world really had restrictions on women, so women couldn't become great swordsmen, so they couldn't determine Kuina's future. It can only be said that he can teach her to become a Quincy. If Kuina becomes as strong as Barrow, then it won't matter who the great swordsman is. One arrow or one shot can kill you. Furthermore, not every Quincy uses a bow and arrow. It is necessary in the early stage, but there are too many transformations in the later stage. Even Yhwach does not use a sword. So this is just a process. Maybe Kuina can get a chance to break through from the power of the Quincy. You should stop joking. It is almost a curse that women cannot become great swordsmen. No matter how talented they are, there is nothing they can do about it. This has been tested in the past. At this moment, Koshiro felt that Yang Feng was doing useless work. What a bullshit great swordsman. He himself had not entered this realm. How could his daughter enter? It's not impossible. It's better than no hope at all, and I don't plan to teach her the way of kendo. After all, I don't know anything about kendo. That's what I'm talking about. Saying that, Yang Feng once again condensed the spiritual bow. Bow and arrow. Aren't you demon fruit power? Koshiro was immediately confused. He had never heard that devil fruit's abilities could be taught to others. This is not the place to talk. Go back to your dojo first. Barrow, go back to the ship and see how the shadow guards are preparing. I'll come find you in a while. I'm about to set sail. Yang Feng took a look around, and then found that everyone around him was staring at him with big eyes. He suddenly felt a chill, said something to Barrow and ran away. Barrow didn't say much about this. His duty was to protect Yang Feng and he was one of Yang Feng's guards. Regardless of Yang Feng's strength at the moment, orders were absolute to him. After receiving Yang Feng's order, Barrow naturally left. This scene also made the people around him take a breath. Advertisement. Who is this kid? It's unbelievable that such a strong man is ordered like this. Who says it's not the case? That shot just now shattered a third of the mountain into pieces. It almost scared me to death. You two idiots, don't talk about strong people behind their backs. Do you want to die? Comma 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 comma. Many villagers were talking to each other, but the last sentence directly told them to shut up. They didn't know what these strong men were thinking in their heads. What if one of them was unhappy and killed themselves? Not to mention that Barrow brought infinite shock to everyone. Let's talk about Yong Fong and others at this moment. At this moment, everyone has returned to Koshiro's dojo. There are no outsiders now, you can just say it. After Koshiro dismissed everyone in the dojo, he said that his sixth sense told him that things this time were definitely not simple. I have never said that my ability is demon fruit power. This is a power inherited from my family, and we have a title, called Quincy. As he spoke, Yong Fong once again condensed the spiritual bow, and waved it in front of Koshiro and little Lolita Kuina. Kuina was full of curiosity about the sudden appearance of the spiritual bow, and even touched it with her little hands. How is it possible? This isn't Devil Fruit's ability, and I've never heard of Quincy or anything like that. Koshiro said with a horrified look on his face. He had always thought this was just Devil Fruit's ability. Don't believe it. You saw Barrow just now. He is also a Quincy and belongs to the Knights of the Star Cross. The holy word, he is extremely powerful, and there are dozens of people with this level of strength. You should know what this concept is. Even if some of those people are weaker than him, there are still some who are stronger than him. Yang Feng immediately bluffed Koshiro with one sentence, but to be honest, it would have been a long time since he got the Knights of the Star Cross out. Everyone he summoned had an extra devil fruit based on the previous one. If he hadn't watched the anime, he would have doubted whether he could gather so many devil fruits, but after watching the original work, he wasn't worried anymore. At worst, he would have gone to find Guy in the end and it would be over. This guy's artificial fruit could only be considered half a piece. Although one or two of them won't do much, a larger number will naturally be enough, and there are so many late-stage ability users, who knows how many weird fruits there are. Advertisement. In the early stage of One Piece, a devil fruit is quite rare, but in the later stage, it is so densely packed that every pirate group has Paramesha, Zone, and even more exaggeratedly, Logia, which makes me drunk just thinking about it. Let me calm down for a while first. At this moment, Koshiro's head was a bit in shock. It can make a peak swordsman's head go into shock. I have to say that Yang Feng has an excellent record. I have to say that what you said is indeed amazing, and Mr. Barrow's strength has been fully demonstrated just now. I don't doubt whether what you said is true, because there is no need. Then you mean to teach my daughter the so-called Quincy power? Koshiro asked. Of course, she is too young now. She is only 2 or 3 years old, and she cannot meet the standards of cultivation at all, so we have to wait until she is 10 years old. This is my lowest standard. After speaking, Yang Feng found Koshiro looking at him with a rather strange expression. Ahem, I am an exception. After all, I am called the most genius person in history by my family, so you'd better not look at me like that. Yang Feng couldn't help but waved his hands and said with an embarrassed look on his face. He had completely forgotten that he was still an 8 or 9-year-old kid, and he actually said such words. Ha 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 ha, I know that you are very strong and talented. I have to say that you are able to fight to that level with me at your age. To be honest, I can't make any comments about you. So wait until Kuina is 10 years old. You should come back. Looking at the sleepy little loli, Koshiro said with a smile. Of course, keeping my word is one of my principles. In addition, just in case something happens later, I will send 10 shadow guards to protect her safety. Then the matter is settled, and it will happen again in 7 years. After saying that, Yang Feng left directly. Chapter 36. The Frightened Sengoku. Open black lens bracket. Please collect close black lens bracket. Advertisement. After Yang Feng and Koshiro reached an agreement, they left Shimotsuki village. Now Yang Feng's plan is to go to the Grand Line to find a glove that can allow him to explode with full power and liberate the scattered spirits. The function of the scattered spirit glove is to develop potential. The greater the pressure, the more powerful the development effort will be. For example, Ishida Ryu almost killed the captain-level Shinigami Lao Niryu with his burst of power as the deputy captain. Therefore, the huge pressure made his growth rate extremely rapid in the later period, and once reached a very high level, and even became the heir recognized by Yhwach. Therefore, the scattered spirit gloves are not useful once used, but require extreme pressure. Even if there is no pressure, even if the potential is developed, in the final analysis, the development intensity is very small, and the huge potential cannot be developed at all. Yong Fong inherited everything from Yhwach, and the first thing he inherited was Yhwach's potential. If you use the scattered spirit gloves casually, you cannot achieve the purpose of developing the potential, so Yong Fong will not use it blindly. Not to mention that Yong Fong plans to go to the Grand Line to find his opponent at this moment. At this moment, Aokiji has arrived at East Blue and came to East Blue Marine Division 16. What kind of heinous criminal could do this? Since the Marine base was always outside the village, and the Marines here searched for Minjam and Cream, no one wanted to go to the Marine base, so there was no news at all for 7 or 8 days. At this moment, Aokiji went to Marine base after arriving at East Blue, but the people from Logue Town haven't come yet, which shows how corrupt East Blue's Marine is. The body had begun to decompose and emitted a foul odor. The time of death must have been the day the operator received the call. Marine, who was responsible for examining the corpse, said with a serious face. Reporting to Aokiji Admiral, the entire 16th Division, from Colonel Loki to the ordinary soldiers, is dead. There are 378 people in total, not a single one is left. They were all killed. Each one has a head on their head. Empty. And no guns and ammunition were found. The preliminary judgment is that it should be made by special demon fruit power. The soldiers who went to check didn't look very good when they came back. After all, so many Marines died like this without any clues. It was simply unheard of and unseen. Where's the phone bug? Are any of the phone bugs intact? Aokiji asked, grabbing the point. Advertisement. No, they are all dead, not a single one is left. It seems that it was not done by one person. One person simply cannot do this. Marine, who was in charge of the inspection, said with certainty. Aokiji Admiral. Just when Aokiji was helpless, a panicked roar came over, and then a soldier rushed over with a newspaper. Aokiji Admiral, this is the newspaper now sold by East Blue, I just saw these things in it. As he spoke, the soldier handed the newspaper to Aokiji, and Aokiji began to browse the newspaper. The more he looked at it, the darker his face became. There's no need to continue checking. Dig a few holes and bury the garbage. I'll report it to Marshal Sengoku. The content in the newspaper is the evidence collected by Yang Feng before. But it's only sold in East Blue, not all over the world, so Aokiji's face is extremely ugly at the moment. He is a Marine Admiral, why did he become a Marine? Not for justice. But looking at what Marine did, he didn't know what to say. Although he had been exposed to Marine's darkness, he had never seen it so dark. Soon Aokiji reported the situation here to Sengoku. Sengoku also looked ugly at this moment. He did not expect that a small East Blue Marine Branch 16 would dare to conceal what he was doing. Aokiji, you don't have to worry about this matter. I will take over it personally. If the murderer can't be found, just find a pirate to replace him. In addition, find Garp as soon as possible. Kaido doesn't follow any rules and may cause some harm to Garp. Maybe, but find Garp as soon as possible. After talking about it, Sengoku hung up the phone. At this moment, his heart was in turmoil. He couldn't believe that someone actually pulled out the Marine branch in something like East Blue. Although the people inside are very cruel, to him, this is Marine's own business. Marine is absolutely just, and Marine's majesty cannot be lost in any way. So at this moment, besides being frightened and angry, Sengoku was thinking about how to suppress this matter. The most important thing is that now the news has spread to everyone in East Blue, so he has a headache on how to suppress it. Advertisement. Come on, call Vice Admiral Crane over. With a headache, Sengoku had no choice but to ask Hihi for help. Although he was an old woman, she was still Marine's first advisor, and her reputation was not as good as that of himself, the resourceful General Sengoku. Moreover, Crane's ability is not weak, and he even chased Doflamingo all over the sea in the later stage. It must be said that although she is an old woman, her strength and resourcefulness are here. Soon Suru arrived at Sengoku's office. Sengoku, what happened again? You are also the resourceful general after all. Why don't you ask me, my little vice admiral, for help with everything? He started complaining as soon as he walked in, not giving Sengoku any face, but Sengoku was used to it. He, Garp and Zephyr were all in the same class as him. At this moment, Zephyr has just retired as a recruitment instructor, and Garp has gone home to visit relatives again. He and he are the only ones left here. At this moment, he has no choice but to find he. As for Zephyr, there is no need at all, because Zephyr is here in his eyes, he is just a muscular man who only knows how to fight, and he has a strong sense of justice. If he knows about this matter, he will probably become violent in an instant. This is what happened. Sengoku had no choice but to tell everything again, and Crane's brows wrinkled as he spoke. Although East Blue is the weakest sea, you shouldn't be negligent. Look at what these bastards have done now. Moreover, the newspaper has spread to the entire East Blue. There is no way to stop it. He also had an ugly look on his face. The news had spread to everyone, so what else could he do? That's why I'm worried about this matter, and it's been more than a day or two since the news spread. Marine in Logue Town didn't respond at all, so this happened. Sengoku said angrily that the defenders of Logue Town were so useless and neglected their duties, otherwise this kind of thing would have spread to Sengoku in a few days. How could it become the current dilemma? Chapter 37 Helpless Sengoku Open black lens bracket Please collect close black lens bracket. Advertisement. The marine in East Blue must be renovated. This time we are just spreading the news in East Blue, but next time it may spread to the Grand Line. But the good thing now is that East Blue is not our main location. The strength of the East Blue pirates is still too weak. Kaido might cause some trouble this time if he goes in. It is estimated that East Blue's power will be weakened even more and leave, but we can't just let it go. Now that the deal is done, it's up to you, the Marshal, to come forward and publicly apologize for what Branch 16 has done. After all, the news has spread and we can't continue to block it. He said with an ugly face, what was done was difficult to reverse even with their heaven-defying IQs. No, if we apologize publicly, our Marine's reputation will be affected. Marine is absolutely just and cannot allow any stain. Sengoku said with a serious face, while he almost laughed angrily. Now that things have become like this and he still wants to cover it up, how can he possibly cover it up? Marine has always claimed absolute justice to the outside world, but he knew how dark the inside of Marine was. If Marine's role was not very helpful to justice, she probably wouldn't be able to stay in such Marine. But this time things are too serious and there is no way to revolving heaven. There is no other way if you don't make it public, unless you directly cut off the news about the entire East Blue, or kill all the people in East Blue, but do you think this is possible? The most important thing is that the old guy Garp returns to East Blue means that this matter should have been known to him. With his temper, you know how to lead the team. After Suru finished speaking, he ignored Sengoku and left to mind his own business. Although Garp was usually careless, he still cared about the darkness inside Marine. Otherwise, he would not have stayed in a vice admiral position and not climbed up. He was just afraid of seeing this kind of darkness, but now he is probably forced to know. Once Garp gets serious, even Sengoku will have a headache, so all this news has been absolutely blocked from Garp. And he is right. He has only one way to go now, which is to apologize publicly. Advertisement. If you think there is a blockage but do not relieve it, a huge disaster will naturally occur. Marine has been blocking it for so many years. No matter what it is, it must be blocked. Once too much accumulates, it will naturally explode. Therefore, the actions of Sengoku and others seem to be correct and at the minimum cost, but in the final analysis, they are accumulating. Once it reaches the point where they cannot resist, Marine will completely collapse. World government almost relies on Marine for a living. Once Marine is finished, world government will also be finished. Generally speaking, the two are inseparable, and it will not work if either one is hurt. Damn it, I have to clean up the entire East Blue Marine. Sengoku swore that he would never let go of these Marines from East Blue. It was simply unforgivable to be humiliated by the word Marine. At this moment, the scumbag Marines from East Blue were enjoying themselves without knowing anything. In his rage, Sengoku had no choice but to hold an apology meeting. Our protagonist Yong Fong doesn't know that his casual actions have stained Marine's absolute justice. If he knew at this moment, he would definitely applaud and laugh. Sengoku held an apology meeting and Zephyr naturally found out about it. He was training the recruits well, but after learning about this incident, Zephyr's temper exploded. It's even more serious than Garp. Garp is a little heartless after all, but he is absolutely righteous. For him, these marine bugs must be cleared away. Sengoku, leave this matter to me. I can't allow such rubbish to smear Marine. You should know my nostalgia for Marine. If Marine loses everything I pursue, then first we'll leave Marine without hesitation. Zephyr went straight to the point after finding Sengoku, which made Sengoku embarrassed for a while. Aokiji and Garp are both in East Blue now, and the big pirate Kaido is also there. I can just leave the matter to Aokiji. Don't you still trust Aokiji? Sengoku said with embarrassment. It wasn't that he didn't want Zephyr to go, but that he didn't dare. What if Zephyr saw too much darkness and quit Marine? He didn't want to lose one of the admirals. No matter what, it just so happens that I want to train those little brats. They have just entered school not long ago. It's just right to go to East Blue. The pirates there are the weakest. There are old madmen and Kuzan brats to deal with in Kaido. I am only responsible for clearing the money. You promise whether you agree or not, I will make the decision. Advertisement. Zephyr said with a strong expression, and Sengoku is now two grown-ups. Do they all like to go to East Blue so much? Why is everything happening in East Blue lately? Okay, you can go, but you also know what is going on in East Blue. I only have one request. While you arrest these bugs, you must also reshape Marine's image of justice. This should not be a problem for you. What's the problem? In the end, Sengoku compromised, but he had a purpose and sent Zephyr there. Zephyr's character will definitely carry out his own absolute justice and find all those Marines one by one. Since Zephyr's declaration of justice would help Marine re-establish a good image, Sengoku agreed after thinking about it carefully. After all, there is not much danger in East Blue. Even a Kaido is not a problem. Garp, Aokiji and Zephyr, there is no reason why they can't defeat that B**********D. So Sengoku agreed to Zephyr's request. Sengoku, you'd better check out how much filth there is in Marine during this period. Otherwise, once I find out, first we'll leave Marine without hesitation. Then you won't have the final say. Zephyr glared at Sengoku and then left. At this moment, Sengoku was extremely depressed. None of them had any respect for himself as the marshal, and they all despised his own majesty. Now he is also wondering why he doesn't have time to be like Haki when he is a marshal. If Sora were here, Zephyr and others would at least give him some face, but now they don't give him any. It seems that we need to reorganize the internal personnel of Marine. If this continues, Marine may really be brought to the end. But by then I will no longer be the marshal, so I will just do my own thing well. Sengoku thought for a while and then ignored it and continued to correct his documents. As the saying goes, you have to do something well. When you retire, it will no longer be your own business. Chapter 38 Windmill Village. Please collect. Advertisement. Barrow, how long until we reach Logue Town? We seem to have been sailing for many days. Yong Fong looked at the sea in front of him with a bored expression. At this moment, he had reached a certain bottleneck in his cultivation, and the most important thing was that Marine, who had massacred the 16th Division before, did not find any trace of Marine 6 styles. This is what makes Yong Fong helpless. In his opinion, a branch should have some training methods of Marine 6 styles, but he was wrong, and still didn't. There are many ways to train your body in this world. You can get stronger through normal exercise, but they are limited. If you want to quickly train your body, physical skills like Marine 6 styles are the best choice. Then there is armament hockey. Practicing armament hockey depends on one's own body. Conquerors can only be awakened by those with the qualifications of a king, and only those with extraordinary talents can awaken the color. But the armed color is different, and it all depends on your own physique. The stronger the body, the stronger the armed color. This is an indisputable fact, so even if the armed color is awakened, it is useless without going through repeated training. In the original book, there are only a few people who have reached the peak level. One of the best representatives is Garp, who uses mountains to practice boxing and directly flattens 8 mountains. There is also Zephyr, whose name Black Arm originally resounded throughout the sea. As for the other Virgo people, to be honest, although it is said that their hockey is good, in the end it is too scattered. It is good to cover the whole body, but is it useful? If the intensity is not enough and the quantity is sufficient, it will be useless. Therefore, in Yang Feng's eyes, these weapons are not the strongest. The strongest ones are only the 4 emperors in the first echelon and a few people at the martial level. Actually, Master, you can definitely take action against me. If it were me, I should be able to put some good pressure on Master. Barrow hesitated for a moment and then said, in his opinion, he is indeed the person who can best provide pressure. How is it possible? I am not the kind of person who would take action against one of my own people. Even if you are many times stronger than me, my own people are my own people. I can do whatever it takes to achieve my goal, but I can't take action against myself. Quote. Yong Fong directly rejected Barrow's proposal. He was joking, how could he take action against his own people? No matter who he was, as long as he became one of his own people, he would be a friend or partner. He couldn't take action against his own people, even if that person was stronger than him. Advertisement. Okay, you go and rest first. You don't have to stay with me all the time. You can live a leisurely life. To be honest, your loyalty to me is enough, but I don't want the people around me to be immutable dolls. Do you understand? Yong Feng stared at Barrow and said, from the time Barrow was summoned by him until now, his behavior has been too stiff. Even though Barrow's character is like this, to be honest, Yong Feng doesn't want all his troops to be like this. What he would rather see is that these subordinates can have their own personalities, just like the people on Luffy's ship. Each one has a different personality and is not rigid. This kind of lively scene is what Yong Feng wants to see. Perhaps, His Majesty has really changed. His personality has completely changed. After listening to Yong Feng's words, Barrow fell into deep thought. It was indeed true. Although he had been dominated by Yong Feng, he had always suppressed his personality. He was afraid that the new majesty in front of him would not like him. But now he found that he seemed to be wrong, and the mistake was very wrong. This majesty was no longer the same majesty as before. The original Yhwach completely regarded them as tools. It is simply inhumane to want to give up and throw away their power casually, but also to take back their power. However, the feeling that this majesty gave him now was not that, but a real concern for his subordinates. After pondering for a few minutes, Barrow seemed to have thought it through, and a rare smile appeared on his face. He had fully recognized Yong Feng. At least now, he would not frown even if Yong Feng asked him to die, although he had done so before, in this way. But this time it was from the bottom of my heart. Before, it was just because I was bound by the rules of the system. Then, young master, I will go down first. Barrow smiled and left, and Yong Feng also smiled. Barrow has become more like a partner. What he needs is not a subordinate, but a partner, not a superior or subordinate, but a level where he can communicate on an equal footing. The incident with Barrow was just an episode. Under the control of the Shadow Guard, the ship slowly sailed towards Logue Town. However, since Shimotsuki village is far away from Logue Town, it has not gone halfway so far. Yong Feng was also helpless. 5 days later, the supplies on Yong Feng's ship were once again scarce. There was no way. Who said the ship was not big enough and there were too many people? Including Yong Feng himself and Barrow, there were 92 people on the ship. Advertisement. And everyone needs to eat. This is a must. After all, everyone is a person of flesh and blood. But what makes Yang Feng feel most comfortable is that the people on the ship slowly get rid of the puppet state and become normal. Young master, according to the instructions on the navigation chart, we should be near Windmill Village now. We must purchase supplies at Windmill Village, otherwise we will not be able to survive to the next village, unless we eat seafood every day. As he spoke, Barrow showed a disgusted expression. After Yang Feng's enlightenment 5 days ago, this guy became a lot more cheerful, and he was also fishing crazily. According to what this guy said, it took him such a long time at sea to realize that the young master is so democratic, so this guy suddenly turned into a chatterbox, and he was largely responsible for the fact that the shadow guard on the ship became normal. But this guy is so funny that he eats fish every day, from fish soup to sashimi. According to him, he couldn't eat it at the ice palace, so he wants to satisfy his appetite now. So it became like this. He ate countless fish in 5 days, which made Yang Feng funny. No matter how delicious the food is, there will be a time when he gets tired of it. After eating so hard, whenever Barrow hears the word fish, his face will become extremely ugly, all because of eating and drinking indiscriminately in the past few days. This change also made Yang Feng funny. On the one hand, he was happy because the relationship between Barrow and him had become more like companions. On the other hand, it was simply funny. This guy actually eats fish to such an extent. He is considered a great person. Windmill Village. Is it really such a coincidence that I came here? Forget it. Luffy should be born soon, so there will probably be a lot of big shots on this island. Yang Feng's expression suddenly became brighter. Chapter 39 Garp, both rough and fine, please collect. Advertisement. After Luffy was born, his father and grandfather would naturally come back. However, at this moment, Long was already forming a revolutionary army, so he was the opposite of Garp. Even if he came back to see him, he would probably stay away. Garp had always been in naval headquarters before, so he could still visit the village unscrupulously and create a number 1 character like Luffy, but that's not possible now. Garp is here. Garp is Marine's hero vice admiral, and Marine is affiliated with the world government, and Dragon's purpose is to overthrow the world government. The two are completely opposites. I have to say that Garp has a weird family. His grandfather is a soldier, his father is a revolutionary soldier, and his son is a pirate. Thinking about it makes my balls ache. No matter which government it is, pirates must be cleaned up. Of course, those pirates who do evil things must be cleaned up. The current Marine is just a headache. Is it useful to spend countless manpower and material resources on Whitebeard and Red Hair? They don't cause trouble, so you should keep an eye on Big Mom and Kaido. If the threat index of Whitebeard and Red Hair is 5 stars. Auntie and Kaido are 200. Both are extremely willful guys. Auntie collects souls unscrupulously to create her own team, while Kaido builds his own army of beasts. Neither of them are peaceful people. The ship soon arrived at Windmill Village and entered the port. Yang Feng's eyes lit up because he saw a warship, a top-notch one. After all, Garp's weapons were placed under the ship. The low-power warship really couldn't withstand such terrifying pressure. At that moment, Yang Feng felt his balls hurt just thinking about it. But now he has found his opponent, whether it is Dragon or Garp, they are very suitable to give him enough power. Pressure. Barrow, follow me. The others will purchase supplies first and then move freely. I will give you a quota of 5 million belly. You can just buy whatever you want. Yang Feng said, and everyone on the ship suddenly cheered. They can buy some books they want to read, etc. When they came to this world, they had already obtained the information of this world's languages. Even Yang Feng did not in this way. And they also lamented that the current His Majesty was much better than the one before, and he would also consider them. Because of this, they became more and more like ordinary crew members, rather than cold-blooded and ruthless shadow guards. Young master, where are you going? Barrow asked with a puzzled look on his face. Logically speaking, wouldn't it be enough to purchase just one? Advertisement. Of course we are going to find Garp. If everything goes well, maybe we can unlock the soul-scattering gloves here without going to the Grand Line. As he spoke, Yang Feng glanced at the gloves on his hands. They couldn't be easily removed, otherwise they would be in vain. Marine hero Vice Admiral Garp. If he is this person, maybe even I am no match for him. Young master, are you sure you want to attack him? There was a trace of worry in Barrow's eyes. After all, Garp's reputation lies here. Even though he is only a Vice Admiral, his strength is better than that of a Marshal. The most important thing is that the current Garp is not the bad old man he will be 10 or 20 years later. Even the strength of the old man in the future cannot be underestimated. Not to mention now, but if Yang Feng had to choose again, he would still choose Garp, because Garp would not kill people randomly. At least his identity has not been exposed yet, so Garp will naturally not kill him. Even someone like Qingjiao just smashed his head and stopped attacking. So Garp is a very casual person, and although his personality is a bit ridiculous, he can still be considered his first choice. Besides, even if Garp's killer explodes and we run away, there shouldn't be any problem. Yang Feng glanced at Barrow again. He really couldn't estimate the extent of Barrow's strength. He originally thought it was Admiral level. But Barrow still has the holy body. Once the holy body is turned on, his strength will increase exponentially. Of course, the most important thing is that Barrow is recognized by Yhwach. As one of the 4 great guards, Barrow's strength is naturally much better than others, so Barrow's strength should not only be at the Admiral level. If you just run away, there shouldn't be any problem, but I don't have any confidence in defeating him even if I activate the holy body, because I don't know his true strength yet. Barrow nodded and said, his strength is not bragging, even if it has not been strengthened, it is still strong enough. Soon the two found the place where Garp lived through people on the street. At this moment, Garp was basking in the sun and eating senbei in his yard. To be honest, Yong Fong was speechless when he saw Garp like this. Compared with Sengoku, these are two extremes. One is extremely busy, and the other is extremely relaxed. It's enough to think about it. Advertisement. Huh, an incredible strong man is here. How about coming in and sitting with me? I can share some of my senbei with you. Garp stood up in an instant while basking in the sun, his eyes directly fixed on Yong Fong and Barrow outside. No, to be precise, it stayed with Barrow. His intuition from having experienced countless battles told Garp that this was a strong man, an extremely strong man. Of course, let's go Barrow. With that said, Yong Fong walked in with Barrow. Garp's eyes shrank when he saw this scene. He was indeed a rough man, but that didn't mean he didn't have the ability to observe. Barrow's strength had shocked him. There was such a strong man in East Blue. But now this strong man is obviously taking orders from this little guy, which makes him a little confused as to why such a strong man would take orders from others. I wonder who you two are. Why are you here? Garp also began to collect information. He was vulgar but did not lose details. Naturally, he wanted to know the details of Yong Fong and the two of them. We are from Kokoja village. We are bounty hunters. Apart from replenishing supplies, we want to get rid of you for one thing. Yong Fong said with a humble face, no matter what else, at least this is what the old dean taught him at the beginning, and he naturally needs to respect people older than him. Can I ask you something? You really don't think you need to get rid of me to do anything, your guard strength is enough. As he spoke, Garp, who looked confused, pointed to Barrow, who was standing aside. Yong Fong sat down. Barrow didn't move at all, just standing like this. This was Barrow's own request. According to him, his bottom line. Chapter 40. Come out, old madman. Open black lens bracket ask for collection close black lens bracket. Advertisement. Enough is indeed enough, but I don't want to do anything to my own people. I need enough pressure to continue to grow. Although Barrow said he can give me enough pressure, he is my person and I will not do anything to myself. It's done by humans, even if I'm weak. Yong Fong looked at Garp with a firm face and said that cherishing his companions is something he has always done, because at the beginning he had no friends or companions, he was just a lonely person. Ha 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 ha. Good boy, this is how I like it. No matter what happens, you should not attack your companions. If you say it well, I will agree to you. After laughing loudly, Garp began to eat senbei. Yang Feng's character was recognized by him. For Garp, it didn't matter whether it was pretending or real. It suited him. The appetite is enough. Thank you very much. Before Yang Feng finished speaking, a huge pressure suddenly rushed into the Windmill village. The huge power instantly stunned the pedestrians around him. Boom boom boom. The moment the pressure appeared, the three people including Yang Feng shrank their eyes. Then Yang Feng and Barrow instantly exploded their own Reiatsu to resist the pressure, while Garp released the same power. Conqueror's Hockey. Who is here? Is it a dragon? Impossible. A dragon can't attack his father, so who is it? And it can be compared with Garp. Yang Feng was right. Garp did possess Conqueror's Hockey. As a member of the D clan, he already had this talent. Moreover, he was also the most undisciplined among the Marines. He does whatever he wants, so it's no surprise that he was able to develop Conquerors. Now Yang Feng was surprised who was the person opposite him. He broke out Conquerors without saying a word. You must know that although there are people who own Conquerors in this era, there are not many, and they are all in Grand Line and New World. Why might it show up here? Old madman, get out of here, otherwise Lousy will destroy this village. Just as Yang Feng was confused, a cry like thunder rushed into the village, and the air shook for a moment. I didn't expect that guy to be here so soon, but you two are really not simple. At first I thought it was Conqueror's Hockey, but it's different. However, it can play the same role as Conqueror's Hockey. It's really rare. My ability, but I can't entertain you now, there will be problems if the lunatic outside doesn't deal with it. After speaking, Garp moved his feet and disappeared immediately. Advertisement. So fast. Where did you run to? Yang Feng shrank his eyes and looked around but didn't find Garp. He subconsciously used Reiatsu to detect it, but Barrow spoke. In the sky, I use my body's strength and some skills to fly through the air. It's a very good physical skill, and it's perfect for exercising your body. Barrow stared at Garp leaving in the air and said. How is it? Can you learn it? Yang Feng recalled how Luffy learned how to use shaving just by looking at it, so could Barrow do the same? He didn't realize he could do it. I've almost memorized it. There are two types in total. One moves at high speed, and the other flies in the sky. However, the ability to fly does not seem to have any effect on us. Barrow looks down on this method of flying. They can just stay in the air with a little Reiatsu, which is much better than constantly moving like this. Just take note of it. Now let's go and see who is so scary, making Garp look so serious. If they fight, we can also use this opportunity to get Marine 6 styles. As Yang Feng said, his eyes began to glow. There was no need to learn. He just asked Barrow to take a look and it was done. After making the decision, Yang Feng came to the village and called on the shadow guards to protect the villagers. After that, he took Barrow to the beach. Shadow Guardian naturally also has Reiatsu. Although it is not very strong, it will not be stunned by Conquerors. Conquerors is the pressure of Kamui, which is the oppression of the soul, but people who have practiced Reiatsu are different. People who have practiced Reiatsu being able to withstand this kind of mental shock very well is a good benefit. After arriving at the beach, Yong Fong suddenly realized that it was this guy. The guy in front of him with a pair of horns, tens of meters tall, explosive muscles all over his body, and a dragon-like pattern tattooed on his right arm is naturally Kaido. Kid Kaido, you actually chased me to East Blue. I thought Sengoku was lying to me, but I didn't expect it to be true. Garp glanced at Kaido speechlessly. Old madman, you are one of the few people who can hurt me. You should be able to kill me, so let's fight, otherwise Lousy will destroy the village on this island. Advertisement. Kaido said with a crazy look on his face. There is really no other way, so let me try to see if you have made any progress during this time. Garp's eyes instantly became sharp, and his two arms instantly turned as black as ink. This is armament hockey. Ha 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 ha, let's fight, old madman. Kaido turned into a huge stream of light and punched boldly, his right hand directly met Garp's fist, and the two fists, one large and one small, collided instantly. Boom. Armament hockey and the terrifying fighting power of the two men caused the earth to shatter in an instant, and the ground with a radius of 100 meters completely collapsed. It was unbelievable that just one blow blasted such a terrifying hole into the ground, as if it had been hit by a meteorite. Boy Kaido, you haven't eaten, right? Why don't you even have the strength to fist? In the end, Garp had the upper hand, and Kaido was punched directly into the sea. Old madman, Lousy hasn't warmed up yet, let's fight again. Kaido suddenly jumped out of the sea and rushed towards Garp. Not bad, your body is barely good enough to be my punching bag. Garp also laughed and rushed over, and then the two began to fight with fists and fists. Every time they collided, a big crater would appear on the ground, and a storm would blow around them. This is not a natural storm, but the fist wind generated by the fight between the two. It must be said that these two guys are monsters, especially Garp, and Kaido looks like a giant at first glance. The power was already dominant, but Garp suppressed such a terrifying Kaido forcefully. It was simply terrifying to the extreme. Chapter 41 Garp vs Kaido, please collect. Advertisement. The color of the weapon is hardened and armored. Garp instantly gained a layer of red and black armor that completely enveloped him, transforming him into a strong man. The red and black armor was even more threatening than the pitch black armor just now. Ha ha ha, old madman, please make me happy again. If you can, kill me. Kaido laughed and the dragon-like tattoo on his left arm emitted a burst of red light, and then Kaido's body rose again, becoming more destructive. I have to say that Kaido has something wrong with his head. Apart from committing suicide from time to time, his only fun is fighting and drinking. But after drinking, this guy will go crazy. After Doflamingo was arrested and his subordinate Jack the Drow was unable to rescue the person, he cried directly, and then became angry again. In short, he was a mentally ill person. It has to be said that there are almost no normal people in Four Emperors. Whitebeard likes to recognize his son, and when he sees any young man with better talent, he wants to think of him as his son. Auntie has dozens of husbands and 35 children in total. As long as she kicks these husbands away as soon as they give her a son or daughter, she can be regarded as the #1 stud among pirates. Kaido has a happy-go-lucky personality and likes to commit suicide very much, but he can't die no matter what. Even if he jumps from an altitude of more than 10,000 meters, nothing will happen. Thinking about how big his body is and how massive he is as a giant jumping from such a high place, but there is no change at all. Then there is Shanks, who was nicknamed the face fruit by netizens in his previous life, because this guy is an all-round talent. Not only is Haki outstanding, he can even compete with Hawkeye in Kendo, but he is indeed a joke. Barrow, can you match the strength of these two people? Yang Feng looked at the fight between the two with a look of horror. In the original work, these two people only knew that they were strong, but they had never seen them actually fight, so they didn't know how strong they were, but now they finally saw it. There is no way. The strength of the man named Garp is even better than the giant named Kaido on the opposite side. I can feel that he still has some hidden power that he has not used, so I am not an opponent, but I clicked on the giant on the opposite side and opened it. After finishing the holy body, I may be able to deal with it reluctantly. After all, I don't know if this is his full strength. Barrow also frowned. Garp was no match for him even after opening the holy body, but Kaido couldn't be sure. There should be about the same strength between the two. After listening to Barrow's words, Yong Fong had his own idea. As long as he could barely deal with Kaido, it was enough. But even so, Yong Fong was shocked that Barrow was so powerful. Advertisement. You must know that Barrow has not been strengthened at this moment, which means that he cannot use any of the so-called God Realm moves, but even so, can he deal with Kaido in front of him? Of course, this is only now, and Garp is now in his 50s, but as a giant, Kaido has a long lifespan, and his strength will continue to increase, so it is estimated that Kaido 20 years from now will not be able to deal with the current Barrow. And the 50-year-old Garp is at the end of his peak, so naturally he is not something Barrow can handle. Fist bone. While Yang Feng was thinking, Garp's fist hit Kaido's body again, and suddenly Kaido's huge body was blasted into the sea like a rocket. The impact of Kaido's body directly opened up a huge ravine in the sea, and the seawater was still unable to fill it. Boom. But the next moment Kaido rushed out again, and slammed his huge fist at Garp. The two fists collided together again, and the huge shock wave completely tore the clouds in the sky into pieces. Old madman, use your attack that can hurt me. Kaido yelled and his whole body conquerors instantly exploded, charging towards Garp brazenly. That's not what conquerors are for, kid. Garp's conquerors came forward fiercely, and the two conquerors clashed again. This time the terrifying pressure was even more terrifying than the last time. Even Yang Feng was a little bit too much. The two conquerors' haki constantly clashed and collided, and the sky seemed to be torn apart by the two. The boundless pressure continued to increase, and the creatures in the surrounding sea turned over and floated to the water one by one. You can even see one or two huge bodies among them. The conquerors of these two guys actually stunned the Sea Kings in the deep sea. Armed color. Hardened. Kaido's huge fist is also covered with black haki, but it is much inferior to Garp's full body armor. Bang bang bang. Advertisement. The fists of the two collided together, mixed with the conqueror's armed colors and the terrifying physiques of the two, directly rendering the world red and black. The collision even produced red lightning, which was the terrifying lightning produced by the friction between the two fists. It's really terrifying. The bodies of these two people are actually so strong. Is this really what the human body can achieve? Barrow was a little stunned. At this moment, these two people were no longer human in his eyes. They had reached this level just by relying on their physical strength. How terrifying this was. This is the essential power of this world, physique. In this world, there is almost no limit to human physical evolution. The Marine 6 styles I called you a few times before are techniques for cultivating the physique. They are called superhuman physical skills. Yong Fong looked at the collision that dyed the sky, the earth and the ocean red and black, and his eyes were full of desire. This was the desire for power and the persistence of power. Who wouldn't want to have such power? The persistent desire for power in Yang Feng's eyes deepened once again. Don't worry, Your Majesty. When your strength is fully restored, these two guys will definitely not be your opponents. Barrow comforted him. Barrow, are you really willing to stop here? Even if I gain the complete ability of Yhwach, what if I can stop it here? No, I can become stronger. The haki of this world, the size all kinds of things can make me stronger, and you won't just stop there, right? Yang Feng glanced at Barrow calmly. Although he had obtained the inheritance of Yhwach, he was unwilling to stop there. Yhwach also failed in the end because his strength was not strong enough. He wants to become stronger. As a modern person, how could he stop looking at this? So that's the case. You are indeed Your Majesty to whom I am loyal. Then I, Barrow, swear once again that I will follow His Majesty's footsteps. Barrow was also shocked. He was not satisfied with Yhwach's power, but after thinking about it carefully, such a majesty was worthy of his loyalty. I'm asking for support for one more chapter. The data is too miserable to talk about. Although I know it's not well written, I still shamelessly ask for support. If you have flowers, give me some flowers. If you have comments, please give me comments. Thank you. Chapter 42 Kaido is defeated. Yang Feng comes on stage, please collect. Advertisement. The collision continued, and at this moment Kaido's armament haki began to slowly weaken, while Garp's red and black armed colors became more solid. Boom. Kaido flew out again, and the newly recovered sea was once again plowed into a huge ravine, and seawater continued to pour into it. Kaido's body passed through the sea and hit a small island. This is a careful isolated island. It is not very large, probably only 1 kilometer in diameter. Kaido showed no intention of slowing down after his body hit the island. The huge body passed through the island, splitting it into two, and then smashed into the sea, setting off a water column up to 100 meters high. It flew no less than 10 kilometers in total, which shows how terrifying Garp's fist is. What a terrifying punch. If it had hit me, I would have turned into nothingness. Seeing such a terrifying punch, Yang Feng no longer knew what to say. This guy's body was too strong, and what Barrow said was that he hadn't used his full strength yet. It should be said that he is worthy of being the person who forced Roger, the Pirate King, into desperate situations several times. If Roger hadn't had the ability to listen to the sounds of all things, he would have arrested him. The current generation of Marine was indeed the most glorious generation of Marine. Marine Marshal Kong was super powerful. The resourceful General Sengoku was able to chase the Golden Lion all over the map, and Garp was in charge of Roger the Pirate King. Later, the Crane Vice Admiral chased the Don Quixote family. At his peak, Zephyr was titled Black Arm. His fists were invincible. Even pirates could not be arrested without killing him. The original Marine generation was truly brilliant, and almost all pirates in the sea were frightened by Marine. But as Whitebeard said, this new era is no longer able to ride on the ships of the old party. Time has passed quietly, and the once glorious generation has become extremely old, completely losing the power of its peak. Even Zephyr suffered from asthma, and even Kizaru couldn't beat it. The peak generation slowly withdrew from this era, and a new era for Luffy and others began. After all, this world is about Luffy, and Luffy is the protagonist. This is the interpretation of his legend, so the strength of the older generation in the late One Piece world has been weakened to the extreme. But there are still more than 10 years before the plot begins, and the era of great pirates has just begun. Both Marines and pirates are at their peak. Boy Kaido, go back and forth wherever you go, otherwise don't blame me for being rude. Garp's voice was like the beating of a huge copper bell, resounding throughout the entire audience. Even Kaido, who had just escaped from the sea more than 10 kilometers away, heard it. Advertisement. Old madman, if you have the power to hurt me, then you must have the power to kill me. Come on, kill me. If you kill me, no one will continue to pester you. At this moment, Kaido's arm was already hanging softly beside him, and it was obvious that he had been interrupted by Garp's punch. Huh, my arm is actually broken. The injury this time is really serious. Kaido raised his soft arm without a care, and the arm immediately connected, and the wound on it disappeared in an instant. So the last thing I want to do is fight you. You are just like a monster. Immune to death. Even if you are seriously injured, you will recover immediately. I really don't know what you are. Seeing Kaido back in front of him intact, Garp was speechless to the extreme. Kaido's body was already strong enough and difficult to be injured, but he would recover quickly after being injured. Thinking about it gave Garp a headache. Old madman, can't even you kill me? Kaido looked at Garp arrogantly. Why don't you go to Sherlock Linlin if you want to die so much? I remember that guy is a soul fruit, and it can also extract the lifespan of others. She can definitely kill you. Garp picked his ears and asked with a speechless expression. That old woman, she can't. Her ability can indeed extract souls, but only if Lousy is afraid of her. Is Lousy afraid of that old woman? Kaido said with disdain, Sherlock Linlin's ability can indeed extract lifespan, but it cannot be extracted by force. Only those who are afraid of him will have their souls pulled out by her and their lifespan will be extracted if their hearts fluctuate. But who is Kaido? Kaido is a guy who is not afraid of anything. He might be afraid of Big Mom, so this ability of Big Mom doesn't exist in front of him. Really, it's really troublesome, but you have already lost. According to our agreement, you can't bother me again within a month. Garp said, taking back his armed colors and once again regained his image as an old man. Lousy knows that he won't break the promise, but how long can you last at your peak? Maybe you will die in Lousy's hands in a few years. As he spoke, Kaido showed a hint of a sinister smile. Advertisement. This is something for the future. At least I can suppress you now. Just wait. I may not be able to deal with you in the future, but my grandson has been born. When my grandson grows up, he will replace me and kill you. Guy. Garp said with a slight smile, but Yong Fong on the side was dumbfounded. What the hell is this? Emotions. The feud between Kaido and Luffy was just like this. I have to say that the old man Garp is a bit of a tricker. Of course, this world will definitely be Luffy's world in the future. After all, this world is interpreting his story. So Garp didn't say anything wrong. The four emperors may really be defeated by Luffy one by one. Ha ha ha, Lousy, I will wait for your grandson until he comes to take my head. After Kaido finished speaking, he sat down on the ground, took down the gourd with the emperor engraved on his body, and started drinking wine. You two, now that your matter has been resolved, is it time to resolve my matter? Seeing that the two of them finally stopped, Yong Fong naturally led Barrow out. Huh, you two are here too. Do you still want to fight with me? Garp's eyes suddenly widened. This little guy really didn't care about life and death. He knew the consequences and still wanted to fight with him. No, this time my target is not you, but him. As he spoke, Yang Feng's fingers stopped directly on Kaido, who was drinking heavily. You're crazy, you want to fight this guy. Aren't you afraid of death? Garp's eyes suddenly widened. This kid just didn't want to live no matter where he was. After seeing the battle just now, he actually wanted to fight this guy. Chapter 43. Scattered Spirit Gloves, Liberation please collect. Advertisement. Ha 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 ha, it's ridiculous, it's really ridiculous. A mere ant wants to challenge Lousy. Don't you know Lousy's strength? Kaido put down the gourd and glanced at Yong Feng before laughing wildly. The laughter spread directly to several kilometers away, and the laughter was mixed with all kinds of disdain. Yes, I want to fight you. As a price, don't you want to find someone who can fight you? Barrow. As he spoke, Yong Feng signaled Barrow with his eyes, and Barrow immediately received the order. He raised his spiritual gun Tiagrain and fired a shot at the island that Kaido had just hit in half. The bullets formed by the gathered souls were fired with a bang, instantly breaking the island into two halves once again. Thermal weapons. How is it possible? Such a weapon can actually exert such power. This scene was not only surprising to Garp, but also Kaido's eyes widened, and he forgot to take the gourd of wine away from his mouth, and the wine flowed all over him. This is only part of Barrow's strength. According to what Barrow said, his strength should be almost the same as yours when it is fully exploded. So as a price, how about he fights you and you fight me? After seeing the dull two people, Yong Feng spoke again. He didn't look like an 8 or 9-year-old kid at this moment, but more like a fox. Okay, deal, but it's too easy to fight you. Lousy is sitting here. As long as you can make Lousy move one step, Lousy owes you a condition. Kaido also showed interest, and this interest was not Yong Feng, but Barrow. The strength shown by Barrow's attack just now was almost at the admiral level, and according to Yong Feng, Barrow's strength was comparable to him, so he was curious and hit Yong Feng directly. How is that possible? It's already good to have admiral level strength, but now why is it said that his strength can compete with Kaido? Kaido's strength is not something that admiral level combat power can withstand. At this moment, Garp also looked confused, and there was no news about when such a person appeared on the sea. To be honest, Garp has been thinking about how to deal with these two people. If they become pirates, there will be endless troubles. Sit back and let me beat you. That's not bad, right? In that case, you have to keep your word. Yong Feng was immediately happy. He got a condition for nothing, and it was Kaido's condition, so naturally it was very good. Then let's start. It's best to be quick. Lousy also wants to test this guy's strength. After speaking, Kaido didn't look at Yong Fong at all, but stared at Barrow and the spirit gun in his hand. Advertisement. Reiatsu breaks out, Arc Sparrow. Yong Fong was not hesitant, he directly unleashed his Reiatsu, and a blue and white arc bird appeared in his hand. Huh, Conqueror's Haki. No, it's not Conqueror's Haki. It's just a kind of oppression. It has similar effects to Conqueror's. This one should be the smallest one among the 3 previous ones. In other words, this guy also has it. Such ability. The moment Yong Fong broke out, Kaido looked sideways. He had also felt this pressure when he released his Conquerors before. Including Garp, a total of 3 bursts exploded, 2 of them were huge, and 1 was a little childish. Bow and arrow. And it appeared suddenly, demon fruit power. Well, people in this world tend to think that when they see extraordinary power, they interpret it as devil fruit. After all, it is generally impossible to cultivate any elemental attacks in this world. Collapse. The arrow left the string and hit Kaido the next moment, but it had no effect at all. At this moment, his power was so powerful that it couldn't even break someone's skin. Yong Fong was not discouraged by this. He was not surprised. He would only be shocked if it really broke. It was expected that it did not break. The speed is good, but the penetration is not enough. The attack power of such an arrow is too weak. If it had the power of the bullet fired from the gun just now, it might be able to knock Kaido away. Garp frowned when he saw this scene. This attack seemed to have no effect at all. Boy, your strength is still too weak. Although your ability is good, you can't compete with Lousy. Don't waste your time. Let this guy fight with me. Kaido glanced at the dissipating arrows and shook his head. Although such an attack was interesting, it could not hurt him. I've been underestimated. Maybe your promise will be mine soon. As he spoke, Yong Fong stretched out his left hand to the protruding part of the sandling glove, and then gave it a hard squeeze. Gotcha. The raised part on the top of the sandling gloves was broken off directly. Boom. Advertisement. The moment the spirit-spreading glove was destroyed, a huge blue Reiatsu pillar rose up and enveloped Yong Feng's entire body. Huh, it's interesting and interesting. That makes sense. What the hell did you do, kid? This sudden scene attracted everyone's attention, and this pressure also made Kaido interested. This pressure was completely different from the previous one. What's this? After the light beam dispersed, the bow in Yong Feng's hand did not change much, but he did have an extra pair of armor on his body, and a huge blue halo emitted from his right shoulder. Break. An arrow soon appeared on the bowstring, and then turned into a stream of light and struck Kaido. Boom. The small bow and arrow hit Kaido at a terrifying speed. The huge force caught Kaido off guard in an instant. The arrow flew out with his body, once again plowing a deep hole in the sea. Gully. Bang. With a loud noise, Kaido's body fell into the small island before, and a big explosion occurred today, which shows how terrifying this arrow is. How is it possible? Why did the strength suddenly increase so much? Garp's eyes almost popped out of his head. Yong Feng, who originally only had a combat power of about Vice Admiral level, suddenly burst out with Admiral level combat power, instantly leaving Garp stunned. Ha 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 ha. Not bad attack, why does it become like this? The strength suddenly increased sharply, the armor on the body, such terrifying attack power, interesting and interesting. Kaido immediately became interested. He did not expect that this kid would suddenly become comparable to an admiral, and his attack power was not comparable to that of an admiral. This destructive arrow almost broke through his defensive. Sure enough, you still can't break the defense. The people in this world are really scary, but this power should be able to fight Kaido in a short time. Yong Feng glanced at the spot where he shot Kaido before, but found that it was still intact. Chapter 44 The terrifying Kaido open black lens bracket please collect close black lens bracket. Advertisement. What happened? This kid's combat power suddenly rose to the admiral level. Garp murmured to himself with a puzzled look on his face. The changes in Yong Feng at this moment were really weird. It was already pretty good for an 8 or 9-year-old child to have the power to fight Vice Admiral, but at this moment he actually exploded. Admiral level combat power. To be honest, Garp has never seen such a situation. As for retaining his strength, if anyone says that he has retained his strength, Garp swears that he will definitely give him an iron fist of love. It is impossible for an 8 or 9-year-old child to have admiral level combat power. Even Rob Lucci, who is known as CP9's most powerful genius and killing weapon, is just like this. He has Vice Admiral level combat power at such a young age. The Scattered Spirit Gloves. The young master uses the Scattered Spirit Gloves, so the combat power will skyrocket within a period of time. When Garp was confused, Barrow's voice reached his ears. Spirit Spreading Gloves. What is that? Garp was once again confused. There were no strange props in this world, only the famous sword, Devil Fruit. The Soul Scattering Gloves are one of the props used by our Quincy. Once put on, they cannot be untied. Once the Soul Scattering Gloves are untied, the strength will skyrocket to a terrifying level in a short period of time. Barrow's words made Garp realize. Wait a minute, what is a Quincy? Doesn't something like this have side effects? Didn't you say it can't be unlocked? Why not? Garp's face showed doubts again. In fact, Barrow's explanation was also indicated by Yong Feng. The rise of Quincy in this world naturally requires reputation, and the best way to spread this reputation is marine. Garp would definitely tell Sengoku when he found out. After all, the two of them were wearing the same pair of pants. Naturally, Sengoku would be worried about causing trouble, which would ruin the reputation of the Quincy. Of course, another way is to put a bounty on Marine and ask Marine to put a bounty on himself. Before, Yong Fong felt that he was not strong enough, so if the bounty was low, he would be annoyed by the so-called bounty hunters, so he waited until now. The Quincy is an organization just like your Marines, the Revolutionary Army, and the world government, and we are all people in the organization. You can understand it is a profession. As for the side effects of the soul-scattering glove, once it is released, it will instantly gain a huge power, but then you will lose all the power of a Quincy. Barrow said calmly, but Garp couldn't accept it. Isn't this your young master? You, young master, are still so calm when you lose your strength. Why don't you say such nonsense? Of course you can get your power back after you lose it, and the greater the pressure you get after the release of the scattered spirit gloves, the more thoroughly you can develop the young master's potential. This is the reason why the young master wanted to fight you before, but now he has found you are now your opponent. Advertisement. After saying that, Barrow turned his attention to Yong Fong. It was enough to hand over this information to Garp. As for the rest, he couldn't say more. Any further discussion would involve the Quincy's abilities. These things cannot be exposed at will now. Boy, you have good strength, but the speed of shooting arrows is too slow. The attack power is good. If you shoot a large number in one breath, it may cause some damage to me, but you don't have this ability now. Kaido punched Yong Fong, and the spirit arrow in Yang Feng's hand was released instantly, but the spirit arrow hit Kaido this time and had no effect. Instead, it was in a stalemate with Kaido's fist. Broken. With Kaido's loud shout, the condensed arrow was directly broken into pieces, and Kaido's fist fell with a crash. Fei Lianzhao. Seeing this scene, Yong Fong couldn't help but twitch at the corner of his eye. Such a terrifying spirit-condensing golden style was actually destroyed by Kaido's punch, but he quickly ran away with his flying feet. Kaido's fist hit the ground and once again opened a large crater dozens of meters wide. I have to say that these people standing at the top are indeed strong enough. They can cause such horrific damage with one punch. It is not an exaggeration to call these guys humanoid nuclear bombs. He runs pretty fast, but lousy is faster than you. Yong Feng's eyes only felt blurry, and then a huge figure appeared in front of him, and a fist suddenly struck down. Boom. This time Yong Feng was completely hit. Before he was hit, he could only create countless spirit shields above his head, but unfortunately, it was useless. He couldn't even block it. This punch was a real blow. The blast hit him. Ahem. This time Yong Feng felt that he was really miserable. If the armor hadn't been removed, Kaido would have probably punched him seriously with 90% of his strength. Fei Lianzhao. Advertisement. This time Yong Feng was clever. He coughed out a mouthful of blood and used his flying feet to jump into the air, then stayed in the air. Stopped. Stopped in the sky. Garp once again showed a shocked expression. This was out of control. There were many people in the pirate world who could fly, but not many who could stay in the air. Their physical skill, moonwalk, requires constant stepping to use this force to float into the air, so it is always moving. Then there is the golden lion, the lion fruit ability user, Doflamingo, who uses string to stop himself in the air, and Luffy's rubber elastic legs, which uses elasticity to detonate the air to stop himself in the air. Boom boom boom. Yong Feng, who was parked in the sky, kept condensing Reiatsu and squeezed his own power, forming a stream of arrows that continued to shoot towards the ground. This time the rate of fire was obviously faster, and arrows one after another continued to bombard Kaido's position. And triggered a huge explosion. The dust on the ground directly covered the entire battlefield, and only one loud noise could be heard. Tear. Yong Feng's fingers split open due to the huge Reiatsu, and blood poured out of them, but Yong Feng did not stop. He needed to continue to squeeze himself and squeeze his potential, so that he could grow better and surpass Yhwach. The explosion lasted for 2 minutes. In these 2 minutes, Yong Feng shot hundreds of arrows. All the spirits within a radius of 10 kilometers were directly evacuated, and his arm was long gone. He relied entirely on chaos. It was just pretending that Tiankui was constantly attacking. At this moment, there was no Reiatsu left in his body, and he could not maintain his stasis in the sky. He fell directly and was caught by Barrow the next moment. The next things will be left to you. After uttering the last word, Yong Feng fainted immediately, and the spiritual bow and armor on his body turned into spiritual particles and dissipated in the air. Chapter 45 Lii Barrow, please collect. Advertisement. How's it going? Is there nothing wrong with this kid? Garp came to Barrow and asked. He didn't understand why this little kid squeezed him so much. It's nothing serious. It should be said that the potential development this time went very smoothly. The young master's potential has been developed to a terrifying level. Once he regains his power, he will grow at a terrifying speed. Barrow took one look at Yong Feng's condition and said, there was not much damage to Yong Feng's body at this moment. Due to Reiatsu's pressure, his 2 arms were seriously injured, but these are nothing to the Quincy's body. Ha ha ha, he actually hurt lousy. This kid is pretty good. Kaido, who rushed out of the big pit, had some bloodline and some small holes on his body, which should be the traces left by Yong Feng's previous crazy shooting. Have you fainted yet? It's really disappointing. This kid is one of the few people who can hurt lousy. Although his power is temporary, it's not bad at all. Now it's your turn. After Kaido finished speaking, he looked at Barrow. He wanted to know how terrifying Barrow's strength was. If you don't tell me, I will take action against you. As the price for hurting the young master, I swear that I will take off your head. Barrow said as he raised his spiritual spear Tiagrain, but at this moment he could not defeat Kaido because he was not in his strongest state, and some of his skills could not be used even after using the holy body. If you want to remove Laozi's head, come and do it. Laozi has already had enough. Unfortunately, there is no one on this sea who can kill Laozi. Kaido said with a crazy look, but this is indeed true. Generally, Admiral cannot break through his defense. Even if Garp and others injured him, he would recover again the next moment and be unable to fight at all. This was also the reason why Garp was least willing to fight him. He was constantly being consumed and injured, but Kaido didn't react at all. It was simply a cheating device. Bang bang bang. Barrow didn't do any ink. He lifted up Tia Grant and shot him with a few shots. The spirit attack condensed by his strength was naturally very powerful. The extremely compressed spirit bullets were more powerful than Yang Feng's arrows that exploded from the spirit gloves before. The arrow is even more terrifying. Dang dang dang. 3 shots hit Kaido, causing Kaido to take several steps backward uncontrollably. You actually stepped back. What on earth is this gun? Advertisement. Garp couldn't help but twitch the corner of his mouth. He was very curious about the brand of the gun in Barrow's hand. He actually relied on the gun to make Kaido retreat, even if it was a seastone bullet. Sure enough, it doesn't work at all. Barrow took a look at the fact that his attack was not having any effect and then directly unleashed his Reiatsu. Reiatsu, which has surpassed the captain level, forms a huge blue Reiatsu light beam, and this light beam is extremely powerful. This is the Reiatsu formed by Barrow liberating his own power and completely exploding. It is many times stronger than the Yong Fong who exploded. Yes, he is much stronger than the kid just now, but it's not like he wants to take my head just by relying on it. Kaido laughed and punched him. Holy mie ya. Barrow calmly raised the spirit gun. The spirit being raised was instantly attracted and condensed into the spirit gun through Barrow's body. The blue light spot appeared even 10 meters away from Barrow. Boom. A blue beam of light instantly shot out from the muzzle of Tia Granton's gun, hitting Kaido's fist, and the huge impact directly blew Kaido's body away. But even so, it didn't do much to Kaido's hand. Barrow clearly saw that Kaido's right fist only had a layer of skin broken. Barrow was already speechless about this. How strong a defensive ability this is. I didn't expect to meet so many strong people in East Blue. Each one of them made me hurt. Is East Blue really the weakest sea? Kaido asked with a crazy look. He has met so many strong people in East Blue, and now even he doesn't believe that East Blue is the weakest sea. You must know that no one in the first half of the Grand Line could defeat it. Wounded. Laozi also wants to know where these monsters come from. Garp spoke in this regard, and he was speechless for a while. Each of these monsters jumped out of nowhere, especially this Barrow, whose strength has reached the admiral level. Who knows if it will explode again? Buzz buzz. While Garp was complaining speechlessly, something happened to Kaido's body. The dragon-shaped tattoo on his left arm became more solid and emitted a strange red light. Advertisement. Boom. The next moment, Kaido disappeared and reappeared at Barrow's side. He punched Barrow horizontally, instantly breaking Barrow's body in half. The changes in airflow caused by the huge force directly formed a storm, sweeping a huge gap in the forest. Are you dead? You really haven't been beaten before. You're worse than that brat, a spoiler. Kaido couldn't help but frown when he saw Barrow with only half of his body left. He didn't expect that this guy was even more unbeaten than that kid, and he was about to leave with a disappointed look on his face. It's a pity that your fist didn't hurt me. Just when Kaido turned around, Barrow's body slowly recovered. He looked at Kaido with a calm face and said, since this is a spirit child transformation, originally this move can only be used under the complete holy body. But Barrow actually completed it in the normal state, but he couldn't teleport. A person with Logia fruit ability. This word popped up in Kaido and Garp's minds instantly. After all, only those with Logia fruit abilities are immune to physical damage, and Kaido has not used weapon colors before, so it is understandable. Am I really unable to defeat you in this state? It's even difficult to even cause damage. It seems I can only use this move. Barrow shook his head helplessly. Garp and Kaido were instantly interested. Yang Feng's sudden outburst shocked them before, but now they were naturally curious about Barrow's outburst. My name is Lii Barrow, and I am a member of the Knights of the Star Cross. I have the code name of the holy text, X, and my name is All Things Connected. Barrow's spiritual spear was instantly pointed at Kaido. Although he did not finish using the holy body, he stimulated the ability of the holy word. The holy word is the essential power of the Star Cross Knights. After careful calculation, the power is even higher than that of the holy body. The ability to penetrate all things is Barrow's ability, and he can penetrate everything he sees. Chapter 46. The Holy Eucharist, God's Judgment, Pseudo, please collect. Advertisement. Bang. A spirit bullet shot out and penetrated Kaido's body directly in an instant. There was no fancy skills, it was a natural shot, but this bullet shot directly through Kaido's body. And it passed through the forest with undiminished power, leaving a deep ravine in the forest. Hit. Pierced. How is that possible? Garp's jaw almost dropped to the ground. Just one shot penetrated Kaido's body. How powerful was the penetration? The holy words are the ultimate power bestowed upon us by His Majesty, and are also our codenames. They penetrate all things. In my eyes, there is nothing in my holy words that I cannot pass through. Barrow spoke out his abilities with a calm face. Naturally, he would not hesitate to tell a respectable opponent about his abilities. Penetrate everything. Then try to see if you can penetrate Laozi's fist. Kaido's right arm instantly turned as black as ink. It looked like he was using armament hockey. Armament hockey was made with physical strength. Even though Kaido's strength is not as good as Garp, the terrifying weapon color condensed from his terrifying system is also extremely terrifying. It is estimated that even if Kizaru and others were hit by a punch, they would be seriously injured. Holy destroying arrow, everything penetrates. Barrow, who was holding the spiritual gun in both hands, pointed the muzzle at Kaido, and the condensed Reiatsu beam carrying the endless penetrating power appeared again, blasting Kaido's right fist. Boom. Two forces, one blue and one black, collided suddenly, and huge waves were instantly set off on the calm sea. No, if you continue to stay here, I'm afraid you will be affected. It's better to stay away. Garp glanced at the aftermath of the collision of the two forces, grabbed the lying body of Yong Fong and left quickly. He was not afraid of this force, but Yong Fong was. Yong Fong was such a little kid, and he was still injured and in a coma. If he is hit by the aftermath, he may have to go to see King Yama. In desperation, Garp can only bring Yong Fong and the two people who are fighting at the moment. Advertisement. As the collision between the two prolonged, not only the sea was affected, but the surrounding terrain began to change quietly, and the earth continued to collapse under the pressure of the collision between the two. A huge sinkhole was formed, and giant trees in the forest rose from the ground one by one, rolling towards the sky. It's really scary. This kind of strength has exceeded the admiral level. These two guys are both troublesome people, but judging from the appearance of this kid, he shouldn't be a heinous guy. Garp rolled his eyes. He was now thinking about how to get Yong Fong into Marine, but was it possible? Yong Fong is the person who inherited Yhwach's will and ability, how could he be inferior to others? So this idea was not valid from the beginning. After Yong Fong gets out all the Star-Crossed Knights, he can build an invisible empire by himself. Will anyone in this world be able to compete with him by then? He didn't believe that the hidden power of the so-called world government could defeat his Star-Crossed Knights. Of course, by that time, he would be the strongest person. Of course, these are all things for later. At this moment, the collision between Barrow and Kaido has reached a fever pitch, and the power of the two almost sunk the entire island. At this moment, Garp could be considered as wiping off a cold sweat. Fortunately, he stayed away from Windmill Village when he came out. Otherwise, he would probably regret it to death if it affected Windmill Village. Boom. A huge mushroom cloud rose, and a huge energy attack enveloped a 1 kilometer radius, but it affected more than just that. The pure energy covered an area of about 1 kilometer, and all living creatures within it were completely destroyed, but the aftermath spread to a range of more than 10 kilometers. Soon the smoke dissipated, revealing two of them. At this moment, Kaido's right hand had no bones exposed, but it was still recovering. This kind of recovery ability is almost like virtual high-speed regeneration. Seeing this kind of recovery ability, Barrow couldn't help but complain again. He was not seriously injured. After all, he was playing long-range attacks. That is to say, the explosion just now injured his internal organs, and the rest of his body was just embarrassed. Just a little. You are indeed very strong. I am not your opponent now, but I still have one last blow. If I can withstand this blow, I will be considered defeated. There was a hint of solemnity in Barrow's eyes. Is there any stronger trick? Then use it. The best thing is to kill Laozi. Don't you want Laozi's head? Come and get it if you want. Advertisement. Kaido laughed again. This time armament hockey directly covered his entire body. It was hard to imagine that a giant could completely cover himself with armament hockey. This guy's strength has improved again. He actually covered his whole body with armament hockey. How terrifying this is. Even Garp was shocked. They were able to cover themselves with hockey, but that was because their bodies were there. But what about Kaido? The number of hockey required to completely cover such a huge body is even scary to Garp. It has to be said that Kaido's body is still too strong. The armament hockey triggered by such a powerful body is naturally terrifying to the extreme. Let me show you my ultimate power. Unfortunately, I am restricted now and cannot use this power perfectly. As he spoke, Barrow slowly floated into the air. The holy body explodes. With a loud shout, a huge white light burst out from Barrow's body. The white light instantly enveloped the entire island. Even the Windmill village was wrapped in it. The people in the village looked at this endless white light with expressions on their faces. Terrified, I didn't know what was going on. However, the white light came and went quickly. After the white light disappeared, Barrow's body was revealed. The huge 8 wings made Barrow's body even surpass Kaido. His head was wrapped in a collar, and a white one appeared on top of his head. The aperture looks like a statue. This is my strongest power, but my power is limited and I cannot use all my power. Being able to use this move is already the limit. In this form, I can only send out one blow. Barrow's voice came out quickly. Complete the Eucharist, God's judgment. White light shot out from the 8 huge wings, blasting towards Kaido like sword energy. At this moment, Kaido also stepped forward bravely, without fear. There was nothing on the sea that made him afraid of Kaido. PFF'd. This time there was no collision, but the sound of a knife going into flesh. Chapter 47 Leaving Windmill Village, please collect. Advertisement. The white holy light fell like a heavenly judgment. Neither Kaido's tyrannical body nor the terrifying armament hockey could do anything to stop it. 8 huge holy light blades cut into Kaido's body. And without any obstruction, the already broken coast was instantly divided into 8 plates, and seawater continued to pour into it, forming a huge uzumaki, which slowly swallowed up the island. Barrow, who had transformed into an angelic state, instantly returned to his original state, and several flying feet returned to where Garp and Yang Feng were. Are you okay? It's really scary. What kind of fruit did you eat? In addition to being elemental, you turned into that form, and it's so lethal. Garp glanced at the gradually silent island fragments and felt his scalp numb. If he were to estimate this on a small island, the island would have sunk directly. Fruit. That's right, but I can feel that guy is not dead yet. Barrow doesn't want to reveal his secret too much. Since Garp thinks it's devil fruit, let him think so. But within the range of Barrow's Reiatsu perception, Kaido's Reiatsu sense still exists and is as healthy as ever. What? Still alive under an attack like that? Garp didn't believe it anymore. He felt that such an attack was a bit troublesome. But what about Kaido? Kaido should also find it difficult, or be killed directly. Because my strength has not yet reached ultimate, I cannot control it perfectly when I control the moves. The attack just cut off all his limbs. His head is still intact. Judging from his body, maybe it will recover soon. As soon as Barrow finished speaking, a behemoth broke away from the restraints and came to the shore again. This behemoth was naturally Kaido. At this moment, Kaido was extremely wasteful. Only one of his limbs had regrown, and the other parts were still slowly growing. Slow regeneration, even Kaido himself would find it difficult to regenerate so many parts in one go. Almost killed Lousy, but unfortunately Lousy is immortal. If you had hit Lousy's head just now, maybe Lousy is already dead, so let's aim at Lousy's head this time. Kaido shouted with a crazy look on his face. He almost thought he was dead just now, but the white light blade avoided the most fatal part. I'm really sorry. I won't be able to use this kind of attack a second time in a short period of time. Furthermore, your life should not be taken by me, but should be left to the young master. Sooner or later, the young master will become better than me and all of you. Chang, let the young master take your life at that time. Advertisement. Barrow shook his head and said that now that Reiatsu has reached the end, he will not be able to kill Kaido if he continues to fight. The end result will be that he will be tortured to death by Kaido. But this time he also took advantage of it. Kaido's power had not yet reached its peak, and his moves came too suddenly, giving people an illusion. After being hit by one move, Barrow didn't think that Kaido would idiotically use his own suicide by sticking your head out. He actually understands Kaido's thoughts very well. Why does he want to die? Because there is no fun, no hope and no goals, I want to die. Once this kind of person experiences real death, he will find that his thoughts are completely ed, and once he has new fun, Kaido will naturally not die. Isn't it possible? But that's enough. Today you let Lousy experience the feeling of death. Then Lousy is waiting for you in the new world. No matter you or this kid, don't forget to come to the new world to find Lousy. After all, you can people who hurt me. After Kaido finished speaking, he exerted force on his feet, and his whole body was blasted into the distance like a cannonball, and then fell into the sea, causing huge waves. This guy is really terrifying. Not only is his defense amazing, but his attack and speed are also impeccable. Coupled with his terrifying regeneration ability, it's no wonder no one has been able to kill him. Barrow said helplessly. Kaido gave him a new understanding of what the world's strongest creature is. There is nothing we can do about it. Fighting with Kaido boy is the most unpleasant thing. You can't hurt him at all. Once you are injured, you will recover again. Garp also shook his head. He didn't like fighting with Kaido, it was too shameless, as if he had turned on a cheating device. By the way, what are you going to do with this kid? As he spoke, Garp shook Yong Fong in his hand. Yong Fong was still unconscious at this moment. Just leave it to me. I will take back the young master's strength after he recovers from his injuries. Barrow said after taking Yong Fong. Advertisement. 3 months have passed. Yong Feng's merchant ship set sail again, and his strength had been fully restored. After Barrow got his order, he had no intention of holding back at all. Yong Feng felt that Shinigami had passed by several times, but it was also because of this. After receiving extreme pressure, Yong Feng's strength recovered and he made great progress. Reiatsu directly reached the peak of vice captain, and could reach the captain level with one final kick. The arc bird in his hand was also replaced by the Silver Ridge arc bird. This spiritual bow can shoot 1,201 rounds continuously. Of course, this bow in his hand is completely different from that in Ishida Yuryu's hand. When in the hands of Ishida Ryu, Ishida Yuryu's burst of combat power was too weak and scattered, completely wasting the ability of this bow. It can only be used as an insecticide to clean up the mobs, but it is different in Yong Feng's hands. Each arrow is extremely powerful. There are 1,201 shots, and each shot has the potential to kill tens of millions. Pirate-level power. In addition, he also got 6 soul-cutting objects. The soul-cutting object, also known as the soul-cutting object, is a weapon made by the Quincy to make up for the shortcomings in melee combat. Normally, it only has one hilt. When activated, the chronosphere spins on it at a speed of 3 million times per second. The soul-cutting object looks like a sword, but like a chainsaw, it has extremely powerful cutting power. In Yong Feng's opinion, the soul-cutting object is not inferior to the famous swords in this world, and is even better. The famous swords in this world are only famous because they are in the hands of swordsmen. But the soul-cutting object itself is extraordinary, and it is better than those cold weapons. In addition to these, Yong Fong also obtained a silver cylinder, a weapon that stores liquid high-concentration spirit seeds. When used with soul-cutting objects, it can form a 6-ray array. The more silver cylinders, the more powerful it will be. As for the number of silver tubes, you can receive one per day, and after using them, the spirit seeds will automatically condense, and you will be able to collect them all in one day. Chapter 48 Garp's information please collect. Advertisement. In terms of skills, there are also new moves, which are the moves that all Quincy of the Star-Crossed Knights know. The Holy Killing Arrow is much more powerful than ordinary arrows, but it is also very expensive. If the Silver Bell Arc Bird needs to fire 1,201 arrows at a time, the Reiatsu consumed is 1, then the use of the Holy Destroying Arrow consumes 5. Needless to say, the power is definitely large enough, but the consumption is also corresponding, increased fivefold. But it can give Yong Fong the strength to fight Admiral. If it is handled well, it may be possible to seriously injure and kill Admiral with the use of soul-cutting objects. Although he doesn't understand armament hockey, their Quincy's attacks contain soul attacks. Once the soul is destroyed, the person will die, so armament hockey is just a way to strengthen the attack. But what made him unhappy was that Garp was really defensive against them. In the original novel, he was a heartless and funny old man. But in reality, this guy is a cautious person, so he doesn't teach them hockey's training methods at all. This is helpless. Of course, Garp also proposed that they join Marine. However, they were rejected by Yang Feng and Barrow. Just kidding, it is impossible to join Marine. Yang Feng will not lead his subordinates to succumb to others. Young master, where are we going now? After going to sea, Barrow asked the most critical question, because it seemed that there was no target now. Go to West Blue, let's pick someone up and get on the boat. Yang Feng thought of Nico Robin. It was still 17 years before the plot started. Nico Robin was just 11 years old and should still be wandering in West Blue. And because he is often betrayed due to his own bounty issues, finding him should not be a problem. According to the nautical chart, we should go to Logue Town first, and then enter the Grand Line through Upside Down Mountain before entering West Blue. Barrow said after taking a look at the navigation chart. Then let's go to West Blue and pick Robin up on the boat. Advertisement. Yang Feng has already made up his mind. He will pick Robin up on the boat first, look for devil fruit along the way, and harvest some pirate heads to exchange for money with Marine. After deciding on the target, Yang Feng's ship set off towards Logue Town. At this moment, Garp contacted Sengoku. Garp, you old B***************, D, you only contacted me now. I thought you were dead. What's going on between you and Kaido? Why did Kaido chase you to East Blue? As soon as he contacted Sengoku, Garp was scolded by Sengoku. This old guy was really annoying. When he was at naval headquarters, he often pretended to be stupid, and when he got to East Blue, he caused big trouble again. Okay, Sengoku, isn't he just a Kaido? Kaido has returned to the new world. He will probably arrive soon. Just remember to tell the various marine branches not to mess with him. Garp scratched his head with a helpless look on his face, and this helpless expression naturally reached Sengoku's eyes through the phone bug. Sengoku had had enough of this old guy's limitless attitude. In anger, he punched the table, causing it to shatter into pieces. Oh, we have to change the table again. The table has been damaged frequently since Sengoku Admiral became the marshal, but fortunately the table is not valuable, otherwise the table alone would cost a lot of money. Marine, who was guarding outside, glanced at each other helplessly. It was not uncommon for Sengoku to break the table like this. On the contrary, it happened quite often. However, they could also understand that the pressure would be high soon after he took over. Forget it, tell me right now why Kaido followed you to East Blue. Don't you know his specialness? Since Roger died, Kaido, Whitebeard, Sherlock Linlin and Shanks have started to the sea comes alive. Sengoku is also helpless. Except for Shanks, who is a rising star, the other three are all big pirates in Roger's era. Of course, in addition to these, there are a few more troublesome ones, some are imprisoned in the deep sea prison, and some continue to wreak havoc, but the strongest among them are these four guys. Among them, Whitebeard and Shanks Sengoku are not worried. One is a person who only cares about his family, and the other is a newcomer on Roger's ship. He is now famous, but he is not reckless and has perfectly inherited Roger's idea of only taking risks. But Kaido and Sherlock Linlin are different. Sherlock Linlin is known as the largest stallion in the sea. Not only does he have dozens of husbands, but also his children are dozens of numbers, and he is extremely fond of political marriages. Advertisement. After Roger's death, Sherlock Linlin felt that the time had come, and continued to marry his children with other important people in the country to continuously strengthen his power. He even built all the nations, and used the power of his soul fruit to collect the lifespans of others, and used these lifespans as fertilizer, thereby giving souls to the lives of all the nations. This is the trickiest one. Kaido launches a war, but Kaido's forces are not as complicated as Big Mom's network. Big Mom's network is a bit too broad. Even fishmen can get married. It's crazy to think about it. He has also destroyed several countries because of his deserts, so he is probably the last person Marine and the world government want to mess with. So I just let it go. For world government, Sherlock and Linlin can develop whatever they want. As long as it doesn't endanger them, they can do anything. But once they are in danger, world government will probably counterattack immediately. How much world government has accumulated over the years is also a question. After all, it is just a marine that is so powerful, who knows what other trump cards it has hidden. As for justice and other matters, just leave it to marine, so Sengoku has a headache. The people above only know how to squeeze the people below, and the people below have a headache. It's not a big deal. I injured Kaido last time when he invaded Marineford, so this time he came with me because he wanted to die. But you also know that I couldn't kill him. If I could, I would have killed him long ago. Speaking of which, Garp was also helpless. Ever since he injured Kaido, Kaido had been pestering him, making him helpless and could only set a rule of beating him once a month. Then why did he go back suddenly? Sengoku was stunned. This might be true. What can't Kaido, a man who can jump from Sky Island to seek death, do? This matter involves another issue, which is why I suddenly contacted you. As he spoke, Garp's expression became serious. Chapter 49. Troubled Sengoku, please collect. Advertisement. Seeing the phone bug's face become extremely serious, Sengoku also knew the seriousness of the matter. Although Garp was unreliable, he always played a very important role at important moments. That's why Garp is called a marine hero. Back then, he was able to chase Roger's pirates all over the sea and was even forced into desperate situations several times. So once Garp becomes serious, something big is going to happen. This is what happened. Garp recounted everything he had experienced before. The reason why he called Sengoku 3 months later was because he wanted to observe more about Yang Feng and Barrow and find out information about their abilities. You mean to say that Kaido finally left East Blue because 2 people intervened in your fight? And there was another person who almost killed Kaido. Do you think Lousy is a fool? Sengoku suddenly cursed and even called himself lousy, which showed how ed up he was at this moment. You almost killed Kaido, why don't you die? Who is Kaido? He is one of the top pirates after Roger's death. He is most famous for his physical strength and immune to death. You actually said that he was almost killed. Don't get excited Sengoku, what I said is true. Kaido was almost killed this time. The man named Lii Barrow called himself a Quincy. His strength completely surpassed that of the admiral. I guess I can't do it with all my strength. Only then can I suppress this person. Garp said with a serious face. Of course, there was one thing he didn't say, which was that he felt a little guilty about Barrow's last attack and didn't know if his armor could withstand it. Are you sure you're not talking nonsense? Sengoku was also stunned for a moment. Garp's expression didn't look like he was lying, but he had never heard anything about the Quincy in so many years. I haven't heard any information about these guys. It's like they suddenly popped up, but their strength is here, almost on the same level as Kaido, and such a person is still inferior to others. If I hadn't seen it with my own eyes, I won't believe it. Garp said with a tangled look on his face. After learning about the relationship between the two, he was the first to not believe it. How could such a strong man be so inferior to others? Of course, if Yong Fong knew about Garp's heart, he would be crazy with joy. No matter how good your brain is, you would never think that he has such a thing as the inheritance system. Now tell me everything you know about these guys' attack methods and abilities. Advertisement. Sengoku's voice came again, this time collecting information. Soon Garp told Sengoku all the information he knew, which was the intelligence he had collected over the past few months. What a weird ability, and there are those so-called props. It would be amazing if they weren't lying to you. Sengoku said solemnly. Marine was most afraid of this person's variable appearance on the sea. Roger, the Pirate King, had suppressed Marine before. They finally surrendered, but this led to the era of great pirates. Marine was defeated again for a while. After Roger died, they all became old and were slowly suppressed by these great pirates. Now it's also an awkward situation. At this time, Marine really couldn't stand the stimulation anymore. Who knows when something might happen. How's it going? Do you have any ideas? After completely telling Sengoku the information, Garp asked, as for recruiting Marine, it was simply impossible. He had his own team. Ignore them for now. The appearance of these guys may not be a bad thing. Since the name of the ship is merchant ship, it means that they are not pirates. As long as they are not pirates, it is fine. Sengoku said this, but the next moment he spoke again. By the way, I almost forgot, Zephyr also brought the recruits to East Blue. Because of what was exposed in the newspaper before, East Blue's marine needs to be thoroughly cleaned. Sengoku spoke. Don't worry, that kid Kuzan has already approached me. I asked him to check out these marine staff. Anyone with any stain will be punished according to Marine's laws. No one will be let go. Garp said with a hint of coldness in his eyes, East Blue has been silent for too long. When Roger set sail from here, he suppressed many of East Blue's contemporaries. Later, because of Roger, all the talented pirates in East Blue were purged by Marine, and now it is called the weakest sea. Advertisement. And because of this, East Blue's Marine slowly decayed. Because he was a Marine, others didn't dare to provoke him, so he became unscrupulous. That's good. By the way, when will you come back? It's been a few months. Haven't you seen enough of your grandson? The matter of your son Dorag has already made me very busy. Hurry up and give it to me. Come back. Sengoku couldn't help but roar. Garp's son actually went to establish a revolutionary army and threatened to destroy the world government. How arrogant this is. However, the revolutionary army has developed extremely fast in the past few years. There is a vague feeling that it is about to rise, so Sengoku is also anxious. Only the world government has not responded yet. In the eyes of the world government, such a little bug cannot get into their eyes. And they could not predict that in more than 10 years the Revolutionary Army would become a behemoth and become the #1 enemy of the world government. Dorag. I know. I will rush back as soon as possible. This boy Dorag must be educated by my iron fist of love. Garp's face is not very good either. This is like the ancient times of the Celestial Dynasty. He is a soldier of a dynasty, and his son is indeed a traitor. It makes his balls hurt just thinking about it. No matter how corrupt this dynasty is, he still rebels against the traitor. They are rebels, there is no doubt about this. Anyway, come back quickly. Besides, Zephyr and the others have almost finished the cleaning work. They are in Logue Town now. Find him and come back with him. After saying that, Sengoku hung up the phone. He still had a lot of documents waiting to be processed. There were too many things. If his brain hadn't been better, he would have been too busy. Logue Town. It started in the town of the end. I don't know how many big figures rose from here. What does the advent of the Great Pirate Era mean? Garp's expression also became serious. As a member of the D family, only they know what secrets he hides. Only they themselves know why they are called the natural enemies of gods. Chapter 50 Logue Town, please collect. Advertisement. Barrow, Logue Town is ahead of us. Yong Fong asked, looking at the slowly growing coast in front of him. Yes, it is indeed Logue Town. After passing Logue Town and entering Upside Down Mountain, we can enter the Grand Line, and then enter West Blue from the Grand Line. The terrain of this world is really strange, and there is such a mountain. Quote. After learning what Upside Down Mountain looked like for the first time, even Barrow couldn't help but complain. After all, the existence of Upside Down Mountain was so painful that water could flow backwards. Moreover, it is rumored that if two ships collide on Upside Down Mountain, there will be only one outcome, and that is the ship will be destroyed and everyone will die. No one knows how they died. By the way, young master, are you sure our ship can withstand the devastation of Upside Down Mountain? Barrow couldn't help but glance at the ship at his feet. This was snatched from Mikar. Although the scale is not small, it is much inferior to the Mary. It is estimated that it will be just entering the Electric Knife Mountain. One should die. Don't worry Barrow, let's wait until we get to Logue Town. As a transportation hub between East Blue and other sea areas, Logue Town must have relatively strong ships. This is something I didn't consider. Yong Fong was helpless. It was indeed a problem for the ship to pass through the reverse current of the Upside Down Mountain. It would probably fall apart soon. However, this was not to blame for Mikar. Mikar did not want to go to the Grand Line, so the ship's requirements were naturally not so harsh anymore. There's a way, Barrow, we can just change boats when we leave. Yang Feng, who originally wanted to take a hitchhiking boat, immediately became happy when he saw the ships on the coast. It was like someone would give him a pillow when he fell asleep, because there were several warships parked in Logue Town at the moment.